Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat, and you can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Minutes Need on Twitter, and you can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. And that's the sound effect you just heard comes from none other than our man in Brooklyn, @1agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram.
What's up, everybody?
Yeah, from the home of the Dodger Brooklyn squad.
Bring out the ODB. Rest in peace.
Sure. And actually, while we're at it, speaking of rest in peace to Shang-Chi, the one who put the satin in your panties. Yeah, he just oh, you didn't know?
When did that happen?
Apparently recent today.
What?
Yeah, I just saw it on.
I've been on social media for the most part today. Damn.
Yeah, I just saw it on Twitter like a few minutes ago, or a minute ago. So yeah, so we've lost Shang-Chi, DMX, Black Rob in this past week.
Oh, he's only 57.
Yeah. So, and I love me some Digital Underground. So that one kind of hit me.
Oh, come on. That's like a whatchamacallit. That's one of those karaoke, Humpty Dance is one of those karaoke staples for me because I knew all the words.
Right. Right. I mean, the whole album, Sex Packers, was a whole vibe. You got Gutfest '89, your Freaks of the Industry, your Humpty Dance, obviously. Do What You Like also was another.
Okay.
Yeah, so all the joints.
Wrap them in the biscuits and whatnot.
Exactly. So yeah, that's condolences go out to the DU family and Shang-Chi family, whose name was Gregory Jacobs.
So
who I look at somebody was on somebody was just saying that there are a lot of people who didn't know that or there were some people who didn't know that Shang-Chi and Hunt was the same person. I'm like
I think I remember him saying that in an interview.
Right. Well, the funny was because it was like it wasn't that hard to tell. It was like he basically did, as somebody else also pointed out on Twitter, he basically did a Clarke Kent, which is the big rubber, with a big nose and glasses.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, we've minutes, and apparently he did a solo album for but anyway, let me get off of Twitter. But yeah, like I said, condolences come out to Shang-Chi's family and the DU posse, who all is left. Sure, Money B is not running around somewhere. But yes, like I said, this is the Comic Book Chronicles and not the Hip Hop Chronicles. Although there's
times when it can be.
Yeah, I'm about to say there are times where they kind of cross section. So, you can find this here program on the Coastal Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find this on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither, the Cold Slither Podcast SoundCloud page. We are on the eve of the Mortal Kombat reboot, and I am upset with myself because I didn't get a chance to watch the Mortal Kombat, the two other Mortal Kombat movies before this dropped. Not saying I was gonna watch it when it drops, probably at 3:00, but still I wanted to do it before now. So
right, even though it's my understanding that this new Mortal Kombat movie is a refreshing.
It is a reboot,
of the franchise. So, but I guess it's to get into the mood.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Compare and contrast, because this one from the trailers that I've seen of it so far, and I stopped looking at those, is definitely markedly It is definitely going low. I don't know if it's gonna be gritty reboot, but they definitely up in the ante for the fights and whatnot. And since it's not the 90s anymore, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be the fatality is gonna be interesting for what they show already. But regardless, that's going to be for next week's show. Should we decide to talk about it? Because I know one of us, you know, one of us is not so much into it, and one of us is. But what we are
There's
gonna
an
so what?
I said there's an understatement.
So, but what we are going to start talking about not briefly, but we're definitely going to try to run through it, is the Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 5.
See, now I thought Roddykat was going to say we were on the eve of the season finale or the season finale.
Oh, I was going to get to that.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier as well.
Yeah,
but Mortal Kombat apparently takes precedence in Roddykat's watching and viewing priority.
Hey, we've had Falcon Winter Soldier for what, 5 weeks now, so I figured I was going to get to that when we actually finished talking about it, as opposed to. But yes, it is still a truth. But at least with Mortal Kombat, it's kind of a different animal.
Mortal Kombat! Okay.
Maybe there'll be an animality in there. We don't know. But regardless, Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 5. We're going to recap this right quick. So if you have not watched it and want to still somehow, some way stay for spoiler free of that, maybe tune out for about, let's say, 20 minutes.
Yeah, sounds about right.
All right, so we're going to start off with the episode's name, which is called Truth. And some could say, it could be a play on the old storyline, Truth. What's it like? Oh Lord, I should know this. Truth, Red, White, and Black. Yes, there we go. Yes. I was getting there. I'm tired.
I was going to say I was about to say it's definitely a callback to that particular storyline by Robert Morales and Kyle Baker, because it does carry. This was the exposition / plot moving episode.
Indeed. But actually, that's kind of what made it great, though.
Right. Well, because it's unfortunate that a lot of this stuff happens in the penultimate episode of the season, but at the end of the day, it needed to happen now because it does so much to both move storylines forward and to set up the ending of this particular series, or at least the season. So, we basically follow up right on the heels of how episode 4 ended with John Walker, without doing it completely on screen, probably decapitating one of the Flag Smashers, or definitely killing, probably decapitating.
Right.
And, we catch up with John Walker as he is beating a hasty retreat into what is apparently one of several abandoned warehouses in Riga. And he is trying to come to terms with what just happened, and Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes come upon him and tell him that he's got to, turn himself in, and he's got to hand over the shield, and it's the handing over the shield part which sets off Walker. He's basically thinking, so that's what this is. He basically says, so that's what this is all about. Mm-hmm. And that's when we have a 2-on-1 handicap matchup, to bring in the wrestling reference. We have the 2-on-1 handicap matchup with Falcon and the Winter Soldier versus John Walker, not yet the U.S. agent.
Right. I have seen this fight as kind of a callback to Civil War. With the Captain Bucky, with the Steve and Bucky versus Iron Man fight. Because there's definitely a couple of times where, yeah,
it's definitely reminiscent of it because it has some of the same basic concepts where there's one shield involved.
Mm-hmm. But they do finally get the shield away from John, breaking his arm in the process, which couldn't happen to a better dude. But also, you know, like I said, it was a tag team effort with Sam and Bucky, but I think Bucky was kind of the one to kind of grab it, or to kind of pick it up after the fight was over, and then give it back to Sam, and then just walk off. So
right.
So that was kind of the thing, and then we come to see. I think they did take him away after this, right? Or was this no, they took whatever. I can't remember what happened right directly after that. But we know Sam goes kind of looking at the shield, trying to wipe off the blood. I do remember that part. But then it cuts to them like a cleanup crew crewman coming in or something like that, and then Sam talking to Joaquin about what's going to happen
ultimately
now.
Ultimately, what we get is Sam saying, "So you're going after Zemo?" And Bucky sneaks out a door,
Right.
while Joaquin Torres comes in asking, basically giving all of us the rundown of what's about to happen, which is, in the wake of John Walker basically committing murder on in the most public fashion, in the most public way possible in today's internet age. Things have orders have come down from you know the American military or on high to tell these guys to stand down.
Right. So yeah, so basically, yeah, exactly. Comes and tells them, well, you got some downtime now, so just sit tight and do whatever. So cut back to Washington, where John Walker's on trial. Well, Don Washington. Well, I don't know if I would
He's in
call that
front of a subcommittee.
Yeah,
And
it's not necessarily a trial, but
right. It's implied that he is in front of some Senate subcommittee. It's weird because I don't know if these guys really have jurisdiction. It's funny that they I believe Sam brings in the term jurisdiction. I'm like, I don't think the Senate has jurisdiction over this.
Well,
But
so that comes up. Actually, that comes up in a little bit, but that definitely does come up during the course of this. So as a
well,
as a
at
quote
least
unquote elite.
at least where it comes up is that in terms of the general granting of certain rights, privileges, and immunities. Let me not bring in the legalese, but yeah, that does come in. But in terms of the jurisdiction of the Senate, as part of the legislative branch, then it's like I said, I'm not going to get too picky on this, but it just seems a little weird. But in any event, as Roddykat mentioned, John Walker's trying to make his case in front of a Senate subcommittee, and this subcommittee basically strips him of his title, busts him down to other than honorable discharge,
Right.
no benefits, and John Walker basically retorts back at them saying, you made me, I did everything you asked me to do, and essentially saying, this is how you treat me.
Right. And all the while still saying, I'm Captain America. You need me to be Captain America. I'm Captain America. Why? And then like 87 says, yeah, it goes into like, well, you made me this way. I did what you said, which is not true. And then nobody told him to do something to say. I don't even know if like the whole thing with the GRC was, I mean, I guess it was government sanctioned. We don't know.
Yeah, what's left to our imagination is obviously post blip, post snapping, post everybody returning. We don't understand how this GRC is set up,
right?
Because obviously the UN doesn't have that kind of jurisdiction, but maybe the GRC does,
right? And I think as we said last episode, why is Captain America with them? Like that's that seems like a thing that wouldn't be a thing in a global for a global outreach program supposedly.
right? So it's very it's a gray area, and that's actually a hint at what is about to come next.
And speaking of, so he walks out, still thinking he's his privilege gotten the better of it, has clouded his judgment. Um, which I thought this came a little later from looking at a recap, but it was he's outside. I get presumably still outside of the courthouse with his wife, whom we haven't seen since the first episode.
Right. No, it's just in the hallway because it's all. This is all. Whatchamacallit? This is all like right after the hearing, or right as the hearing ends.
Right.
And we get our big cameo.
Yes. So he's talking to his wife.
Teased cameo that the showrunners and the stars of the show have teased us, the viewers, about for a while.
I don't remember this tease because this was a surprise to me.
Oh no! Whatchamacallit? Malcolm Spellman in interviews and whatnot, and some of the stars had said that there's a big a big cameo from an actor who was not previously in the Marvel Universe coming in episode 5.
Right. Well, so I haven't been looking at those interviews, so I haven't seen those. But yes,
I think about it.
I mean, not to that point though. I don't remember that. But regardless though, so Walker's out there talking to his wife and talking about no one's understand what it takes. I'm the chosen one, like almost like a whiny Anakin situation was going on. And his wife's, there with him, to tell him to go visit the Mars parents, which apparently he hadn't done yet, and so they can keep doing what it. And this is when we get to the big there's a surprise reveal when In walks in.
Hold on, did we warn everyone this is spoiler alert territory, even if it is almost a week after the show?
I mean, I did say, if they didn't want to be spoiled, to cut ahead a little bit. And there is a spoiler tag before the show audio version of the show.
I do recall you saying to cut ahead, but hey, big time spoiler alert now.
Sure. You gonna hit the bell or?
I am.
All right. In walks in one Countess Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, played by none other than the one and only Julie Louis-Dreyfus. Louis-Dreyfus, not Louise, but aka what is Selena? Wait, what's her name on Veep? Selena.
Oh, I'm not sure.
I forgot.
I've never really watched Veep, but we all know her as Elaine Bennis from Seinfeld. Exactly. What I was going to say is Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who has a healthy respect for the Marvel snipers, because we had no idea that she was a guest star on Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
So before we go into
that's a hint at some stuff that's come down the news pipeline.
Well, right, because I think there is. I think I do have it in there, but they do have plans for her character. Which was, like I said, for anyone of a certain vintage knows the character of Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, because she was a former SHIELD. Well, she was a SHIELD agent, lover of Nick Fury, who went rogue and later turned into what was that, Madam Hydra, I believe, at some point.
Right, the Secret Warriors miniseries.
Right. So we, judging by what happened in this scene, we may or may not be getting shades of that going on.
We're not sure, right? We're not sure what direction her character is going to go in. But what we do know is that she cozies up to John Walker.
She very much does.
Tells him that the government, is basically doing a CYA routine, and basically says, what he needs to do is pick up the phone when she calls him, and leaves it at that. Doesn't exactly leave a contact information. Doesn't exactly leave him contact information on a card that has
not visible. Right.
But exactly, it's not visible. That's a good point, Roddykat, because ultimately, it's teased that she is going to have a continuing presence in the MCU.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so the way she came in was kind of funny because like you see her come in and she and she introduced herself and was like I felt like there was a little bit of a lane in the introduction, but she was pretty much all business, and she was there like you said, cozying up to John, and just pretty much, and while all the while John's wife is like, who are you? And she's just like keep on going what she's doing, not saying one word to the wife until like the end of until she finishes her whole spiel. And it was like, yeah, you married this old firecracker, this firecracker here, and and that, and pretty much just slipping her car while she's just while she's still eyeballing John and talking to him, which was kind of funny. I'm like, you're just gonna ignore her just all this whole time, but then she finally acknowledges her and then just walks off. It's like, yeah, the best thing you could do, the second best thing, or the first best thing you do is give me a call, get him a card, say something about the wife, and then jets out. So yeah, and that's the only time we get to see her, so far. Like whether she'll come up in this final episode or not, I guess we'll see. But and yeah, and this is the part where she mentions that there is a legal gray area about the shield, which. I get, yeah, that is a thing that has come up in the comics also.
Well, I was about to say it depends. It all depends on what point they want to make.
Right.
I think in this particular situation, it's sticky because this shield is technically has never been in United States possession.
Right.
This particular shield.
Right.
And we're not going to get into the semantics and the details because that involves everyone understanding what happened in Endgame, but that's really what it is.
See, and that was the thing, right?
I don't think that's what they're getting at, but that's what it is.
Right. No, they're talking about just like in the the shield in in general, because I don't think they would even know all of that information to know what happened to it. So yeah, but like I said, yeah, that would go into a whole big thing that we don't necessarily need to get into about which shield this is, and I know there's been stories about that and articles about that. So, but regardless, maybe that'll come up in this next episode. We don't know. But we kick to Carly and the remaining flashbashers who go back to that one camp that the guys were at in the last episode trying to find her, which. I'm like, I guess they must have known the coast was clear or nothing, because you would, and I guess no one would think that they would go back to a place they've already been before. Also, maybe I don't know.
The camp is cleared out, and it's basically been shut down after the raid after it's been raided by apparently forces who were looking to investigate what happened with the Flag Smashers. So it's emptied out, and they just basically break their way in, and they basically vow to make their move now.
Right. Carly pretty much makes a little speech and says, "Yep, it's time to go and time to do our thing."
Right. So we segue over to Zemo standing in front of the Sokovian Memorial in Sokovia, apparently, or what's left of Sokovia.
Right.
And
the crater that is.
Zemo standing in front of this memorial statue, and Bucky is seen coming up to him. And the two have a quick discussion about Carly being beyond any sort of help that they can provide, and Zemo basically tries to goad Bucky into taking Zemo out, but at the end of the day, Bucky says, "No, we're going to take care of Carly the way we're going to take care of her our own way," and also brandishes a gun at Zemo, but basically pulls a dry trigger and shows Zemo that the gun is unloaded by dropping every single bullet that would have been in the magazine onto the ground.
Which
and
well,
Dora, what's that?
Which I don't know if that's true because it looks like there was only like 6 bullets and that thing looked like it could hold more than 6. And I was like, what was the purpose of doing that whole dropping of the thing anyway? You could have just been like, it's
It's
empty.
dramatic effect.
Yeah, I know, but it was like that was
dramatic effect. I think what I was gonna say is, some guns only hold, some magazines only hold 10 rounds.
Right.
I think drop between 7 and 10. I don't think he dropped 14 or 16, which is like a high capacity magazine. But after this little show of non-violence, Io and 2 other Dora Milaje come in from off stage or off camera and take a secure possession or secure Baron Zemo in their custody.
right.
And basically, as they lead Zemo away, Io tells him that they're going to take him to the raft, which is an important note.
Right. But also, what did you were like? Why would you? And like, I know the reason why that's going to happen because we know that's kind of possibly foreshadowing a thing that might end up happening later in the MCU. But I'm sitting here, I was exactly thinking this, like, why would you go there? You could have. He was safer in, well, maybe not in Wakanda, but like wherever y'all had him. Well, it wasn't safer then because clearly he got out. But regardless, I'm like, you could have put him anyway. You know, good and well. My first thought was like, the raft gets broken in and out of on a regular basis. Why would you do that?
I was about to say that's the comic book version.
Right.
The raft in the MCU apparently, as far as we know, has only had one breakout, and that was Steve Rogers breaking out his Civil War compatriots.
Right, breaking in and out, but still.
Exactly. But ultimately, as just before Io leaves, Bucky says he's got one last favor to ask of them.
Mm-hmm. To which we will find out later on what that is, but we don't get that now. Oh yeah, she also tells him, she's like, yeah, you might want to steer clear of Wakanda for a while because you're there's some bad blood between because
no,
of this.
More like persona non grata. You know, he's not welcome for at least a little while.
Right, and he was like, yeah, you're right. So cut to and like I said, and like Agent 7 said, that's when Bucky asked for the favor. Then it cuts to Baltimore where Sam goes back to visit Isaiah Bradley before right after hollering at Elijah on the street playing some ball, and he has a shield with him, and the Isaiah's talking to him, and it's like, nope, don't take that out. I don't need to see it. I know exactly what it is. I don't need to see it. But then they go inside and they talk. And this was probably this is probably the scene that probably got me the most in this episode. Like pretty much, not necessarily enjoyed, but it was like just kind of glued to, because you can see because Carl Lumbly just having his moment and talking to Sam about what actually happened back in the day, and how he got put in jail, and Sam just kind of taking it in, and actually Anthony Mackie actually showing a little bit more acting chops by his reactions, because some people are saying like he's not that great, but like no, he was actually
Listen, he went to Juilliard.
Right, exactly. Like he did what he's supposed to do.
The only reason why I bring this up, I was listening to, what is it, the Questlove podcast?
Oh yeah, mm-hmm.
And they had Anthony Mackie as a guest on, and it made me laugh.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely an actor who is not familiar with the source material.
Right.
Which is obviously not surprising. Hardly any of these actors are hardcore geeks like that. But ultimately, he is an actor. On a side note, he did have a funny story about being Clarence in 8 Mile. Apparently, the reaction that we saw after Rabbit, aka Eminem, goes at him, in the final battle is real, because that whole rap is based on Anthony Mackie's real life. So it got very personal.
Oh damn! I've never seen 8 Mile, so I don't.
What?
Yeah.
That's funny.
So that's kind
funny.
That's kind of amusing.
But anyway, getting back to this, as Roddykat was mentioning and describing, this is the real heart to heart that Isaiah Bradley and Sam Wilson were kind of fated to have once Isaiah Bradley was introduced into the series, and it's really about Isaiah Bradley's lived experience and Sam Wilson's hope for something better.
Right.
And how you can be both. You can have both. You can definitely have some you can definitely be educated by Isaiah's experience, but Sam at this point is still trying to figure out whether or not he's going to choose Isaiah's cynicism mixed with bitterness as a result of his lived experience, as opposed to what Sam Wilson is hoping to have happen, what he's hoping to see hoping to see manifest itself in the future, given his experiences so far, his own experiences so far.
Right. And you could kind of see the moment that he kind of gets to the realization of what we feel like he's probably about to do.
Right. He still has to take some time. And actually the next segue is about him taking that time, because at this point they realize that, and this is something that they discussed with Joaquin Torres, is that Carly Morgenthau and the Flag Smashers have gone to ground, and they are basically going to lay low until they make their move. So until there is a lead on their whereabouts, like I said,
not much for them to do.
Right, like I said earlier, they've been ordered, they've been benched, as Sam Wilson puts it, by the government. So they've been asked to sit this one out, at least for now. So they're not out actively hunting leads. So Sam Wilson has some time on his hands. And as I was saying earlier, he is going to take this time to consider everything that Isaiah Bradley has said, and see if he can't come to some sort of see if he can't reconcile that with his own feelings.
Right. And there was a mention of the 333rd, the 332nd squad and the Red Tails, which was a good real life callback. That was mentioned during this whole during the scene, and like I said, you could just it was a great scene, I thought, between Carl Lumbly and Anthony Mackie. So I think I watched it twice, actually.
No, it's good. I mean, because at the end of the day, that's really what what's fun. What's funny? It's really the discussion that fleshes out Sam Wilson's motivation,
right,
as opposed to what happened in the comics.
Right. Oh,
Sam Wilson in the MCU has a much stronger motivation for becoming Captain America than he does in the comics, but unfortunately, that has to do somewhat with the storytelling devices that brought the shield and the mantle to Sam Wilson.
Right. And speaking of that, right. And speaking of that, so I think we might have lightly mentioned this, like, before we go on real quick, but we kind of mentioned this about Sam's background being changed in the MCU, because Sam in the comics grew up in Harlem, was born and raised in Harlem. This Sam is from like New Orleans. I mean, New Orleans, not Louisiana. So, and that kind of comes into play in this because, and I don't know if this was intentional on their part, but it felt like they were like, well, Sam being from the South understands, that a black man in the South,
they mention
understands, right?
He actually mentions it. So
I was like, they didn't necessarily have to do that to make that, to make that connection, but I understand why they did it. You know, like it's kind of weird that they did it, but they didn't necessarily have to do that.
Right. They also incorporated Anthony Mackie's own personal
Right.
uh,
Which we did mention that. Right.
origin story as well, because he's
Right.
from that area, that part of the country.
Right.
So I definitely think that, but without beating this particular point to death, I definitely think that the motivations and the characterizations were really fleshed out
Oh yeah.
for the Falcon eventually taking on the mantle of Captain America, much more so than it was in the comics. I thought it was very strong. I thought it was very strongly formulated character arc.
Right. Yeah. Definitely a little bit more poignant than how the comic book version went.
Right. I was
So
about to say poignant and pointed,
right.
because they definitely make some serious points here that, you know, because of the nature of the way, as I said, Sam Wilson picks up the shield in the comic books, they really can't address.
Right.
They do it tangentially, but not as directly as this.
Mm-hmm. And with that, we move on to the fact
And
that
that's the benefit of an adaptation.
right. You know, sometimes you can kind of do that. Sometimes I'm actually slightly surprised that they actually did touch it to get that pointed with it, but you know,
Well, that's where they were. I think that's where they were really going in this
right.
series.
Right.
That's what that I think that was the primary premise of this story.
Right. But I'm just saying, a lot of times, you know, and TV shows kind of like they gloss over certain things, and why this didn't go deep in it, but it touched on it more than you think than it would have.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
So, but yeah, so we're moving on. Sam goes back to his family's boat with his sister and her kids. They're basically trying to.
Right. No, I was about to say, so at this point, we get a little bit of Forrest Gump.
Yes.
Here.
A little bit.
There's a couple of Forrest Gump elements here, which kind of made me chuckle when I thought about it when I was watching. But go ahead.
Yeah, so they're trying to determine how to fix the boat or before they sell it or and whatnot. So Sarah's like, you need to be off saving for the world. She's like, and Sam's like, I could do, you're part of my world, and I can do both basically. But y'all are part of my world, so I'm gonna be here with y'all. And then I think Sarah does kind of bring up, like, oh, they benched you, huh? Like, yeah, but still, that, like, it wasn't to that point, but it was kind of close to it. So they get the plan to kind of call in the favors from the community, because apparently their parents did a lot in the community, so they get the idea to like kind of call in those favors, and people started after I guess this was the start of the montage. The start of the it's not a training montage, but it was the start of the montage, and that Sam starts calling people, and they start getting people involved, and then everybody starts pitching in to fix up the boat. And they kind of all came together and do that, and then we see Bucky starts coming through, which this part was kind of a trip, because Bucky comes in to lends a hand, and also delivers a briefcase, which I kind of want that briefcase, which was a Wakandan briefcase. We kind of figure at this point we know what that is, but he doesn't open it right after the bat, and he's just like, hey, I'm just here to drop this off and whatnot, and but he ends up staying to help out. Bucky meets Sam's sister, basically gives her a "how you doing," and Sam was like, "What's going on here?" and you can kind of see this, yeah.
No, I was just gonna say the hand that Bucky lends is obviously him showing off a little bit.
Yes.
He's got not only the vibranium bionic arm, but some form of a super soldier serum flowing through his veins. So he picks up this gigantic crate of ship parts. They're on a pallet, and Sam basically says, "How are we gonna get that off the truck?" And all of a sudden, they magically levitate off the truck, and lo and behold, it is James Buchanan Barnes
Right.
lifting it up and taking and taking it off the truck.
Right, and that's where we get the stuff that I just talked about prior to him saying that. But
Right.
but yeah, and you know, like I said, Bucky's a little bit flirting with Sarah, and Sarah's like, yeah, yeah, I see you over there. But so yeah, there was that, and then actually something else that was kind of interesting came out of this too, because that's something I hadn't thought about either. Because Sam asked Bucky as he was, because so Sam was trying to tighten up this bolt or whatever the case may be, and Bucky came along and helped him on after that whole session. And he was like, "Why didn't you use a metal arm?" And he was like, "I'm right-handed. I don't even think about it." What?
No.
Oh,
Looking at box score. Roddykat knows, and
yeah,
folks on the show should know that I am, during certain parts of the year, I am paying attention to sports as they occur while we are on the show. So,
yes,
I may make some sort of excited exclamation or try to muffle swearing.
right. Or ask me if I've
And
said something
Roddykat
that I
saw
just
me
said.
nodding my head in disappointment at some results that hit my screen. So.
Mm-hmm. So with that, like I said, we kind of continue getting this whole montage of Bucky helping Sam out, and of course we get like some little bit of flexing with the arm in a couple of cases, and you know, leading up into Sam and Bucky took a water pump or something to apart at the end of it, and Sarah was like, "No, you got to go because you don't know what you're doing." So, but this is kind of starts their bonding moment also, and I think this is probably where Sam is like, yeah, you can help out, but don't flirt with my sister.
Right.
I think that comes
Right.
along.
Right. And obviously it's a fishing boat, but as I mentioned earlier jokingly, I definitely thought that this was a shrimp boat, and this is not the first kind of Forrest Gump type hint that we get here. But yeah, it's definitely reminiscent of Forrest going to fix up a raggedy old shrimp boat, that he kind of gets that if you're not familiar with Forrest Gump, for goodness sake, this is not a spoiler for that older movie, but Forrest ends up buying an old boat that
Yeah.
is, maybe on its last legs, but he put some sweat and some hard sweat, blood, sweat, and tears into it.
Yep. One Lieutenant Dan, I believe, is also there.
Right. No, he comes after he fixes up the boat.
Right.
Or, he doesn't completely fix the boat, but it's running. But in any event,
Yeah.
we segue at this point back to our not so favorite John Walker, who is visiting Lamar Hoskins's family to give them his version of the story of what happened, and that is exactly what happens.
Yes,
It's
that's a
one of
nice way
those
to put
times
it.
when if you believe a lie, you believe it to be true, and it comes across more truthfully. But while Lamar's parents accept John Walker's version of events, Lamar's sister is not so accepting.
You
And
picked up on that. I'm glad you did.
right, no, I mean it was clear that
Right.
she was giving him the side eye
Mm-hmm.
during the entire performance that John Walker was putting on.
Mm-hmm.
And Lamar's mom, tries to make John Walker feel good about, what happened, that Lamar was proud about serving next to him and proud about being Captain America's partner, and that he told her that every day was an honor to be his partner. And it was just a sad show of John Walker being untruthful to the parents of his fallen comrade.
Right, because it was pretty much a lie of omission because the dad straight up asked like, did you get did you get the guy who
No,
killed my
they
boy?
did. No,
Huh?
he absolutely lied. They did ask that.
Well, no. But what I'm saying is a lie of omission because he didn't say it was Carly. He said it was a
Oh,
guy. But also he was going back to he did get somebody, but just not the actual person who did it. So yeah, it was a lie
yeah,
on both
but
fronts.
if you go back, I'm pretty sure he's straight up lying. Like it's not even omitting,
Right.
because I think he says something like, "I got the guy that did it."
Right,
Uh,
but it wasn't the guy that did it. Is what I'm saying.
oh, right. Well, there's the lie.
Right.
So that's not that's not an omission per se, but all the legal parsing aside,
No.
we get we get another segue to Sharon Carter making a phone call to somebody,
Right.
offering them a job, and that this particular somebody would still be rotting in an Algerian prison if it wasn't for her.
And if
And
that's not a
plus, she
hint, I don't know
give
what is.
this person double this time. I'm sorry.
I said, and if that's not a hint, I don't know what is. Because
Right.
as soon as she said that, I was like, oh wait, you mean to tell me she was behind that? Which we'll find out who that person is in a few minutes or in a minute. Yeah, but cut back to Sam and Bucky at Sam's place, and I think this. Oh wait, this is. I think this was that scene that started off with Bucky waking up on the couch, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So Bucky waking up on the couch, and the kids were playing with the sword. I mean, with the shield, and he wakes up, sees them with the shield, and they was like, "Put it back, put it back," like he wasn't gonna see him. But then to go outside and I think it cuts to Sam and Bucky kind of playing frisbee with the shield, or practicing. Right. Excuse me.
It's a light catch.
Yes. So they had set up some trees for I guess Sam to practice on, and I would assume, could it be assumed that Bucky was kind of giving him some pointers on the shield, or is just?
I think it's just, and this is something that comes up later on in a training montage, is that Sam is still a regular guy.
Right.
He may be a very fit and strong guy, but it's a lot easier to play frisbee with the shield when you are a super soldier,
or have a metallic arm,
or both.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So this was always my quibble with Sam in the comics. I'm like, come on, he shouldn't be able to throw the shield the way Cap does, and thankfully they didn't have him do that, and they actually incorporated that into one of the stories where he actually loses possession of the shield because he can't recover it from a throw that he makes.
Right, and to be fair, they did in the comics kind of have him at the motions and not being able to, like, even before that, they showed where he's like, he wasn't as good with it as nowhere near as good with it as Steve with it, and actually you could almost go ahead and say that, like, we don't get to see any of this, but maybe Steve, before whatever happened, gave Sam some pointers on how to throw the shield here, and maybe they're just practicing because I don't know what.
Like, that's conjecture at its finest, because
right.
we just don't know
exactly.
But ultimately, what we get here is the two of them going over what we now find out is Sam's. What we now find out is Cap's plan, which was unbeknownst to all of us at the end of Endgame. And what we find out is that that there's that Bucky reveals that Steve Rogers had already discussed this plan of his with Bucky, that he was going to give the shield to Sam, and that Bucky admits that neither Steve nor Bucky really considered what it would be like for a black man to be handed the shield, and that they needed that he was apologizing both on his own behalf and Steve's behalf for not thinking about that when this decision was made.
Right, and I feel like that, because I feel like we had that discussion on whether they had that conversation back when we talked about Endgame, and I kind of feel like it was like, yeah, that makes some more sense, because that's why it was so easy for Bucky to be like, yeah, here you go, because like there's no way in the world he didn't already know that was a thing back then. So it's probably a callback to that.
Right. It's implied because of some things, and obviously this is going back to Endgame, but it's implied that because he says, I'm going to miss you, he knows what's going to happen. Right. And the second half of that is Bucky nudging Sam forward because he knows what's about to happen.
Right.
So, but it's all implied. We're all left thinking about what is actually happening at the time.
Right.
But getting back to this episode,
The tough love part.
Bucky basically, there's a little bit of an exchange here.
Mhm.
First, it's Bucky giving Sam this apology and explaining explaining what his thinking is on some of some of his feelings on the shield. And then Sam comes back and says that, as part of Bucky's ongoing therapy and his recovery from being the Winter Soldier, he still needs to come to grips with what he's done and take charge of his own life and not worry about what Steve Rogers or what anybody else thinks.
Mm-hmm. So I kind of wonder if he's going to end up going back to the Nakayama and telling him what happened to his son.
I would like to think so. That's probably, when we get to the end of this and we start thinking about what might happen in the last episode, I would like to think that we get some closure on that.
Right. Because that seems kind of weird to bring that up and just drop it
Yeah, I would hope that they close that particular loop. But getting back to this episode, at this point, as I said, Sam gives what he calls some tough love to Bucky when he tells him all that that I was just referring to. And as you said, Sam actually says that there are people who need closure, and Bucky's the only person who can give it to them. And without Sam knowing, Bucky absolutely knows exactly what that means. And he says there's like more than a dozen people that could apply to, but we know of one specific person that can apply to. That being Yori Nakajima.
There we go.
Right. So Bucky, Bucky leaves Sam, and basically saying that when they get a lead on Carly, when he basically says when he gets any info on Carly, let him know. And we get a training montage.
Yes. With the theme song in tow, you see Sam practicing with the shield, and having some at first blush not so good tosses
results.
Going on. Yes, the results going on. A couple comically, but also I'm like, wait, did it? Like, I know he was in front of the house or near the house. I'm like, did it hit the house or anything when it flew past him?
I mean, it's there's got to be some damage to when he doesn't catch it.
Right. Exactly.
Wherever it goes. And what's funny? There's a couple of things that I don't know if you noticed. First thing, obviously, here's the other Forrest Gump type reference where you see, run, Sam, run.
When he's running around the house, yeah.
Right. They also, and it's also interesting that you get the kids calling him Uncle Sam a couple of times.
I did see, yeah. I mean, which I saw that in a video that I was watching on that, and I'm seeing like they were doing that they were doing that anyway because they did that in the episode when they came in, so that wasn't any different. But yeah, it was just noted here.
It's a stronger hint,
right?
A stronger hint in what direction they're going to take the character. Another thing that I think is worth noticing here is obviously there's the Forrest Gump running. He's getting his cardio in, and he's getting some more fitness in and strength training. But we also see a slightly different way for Sam to catch the shield. If you notice, a couple of times he's catching it by the straps, not in the really unrealistic way that people seem to sheathe. They seem to put their arms right through the loops as the shield is coming to them. Right. Everyone from the Dora Milaje to John Walker are able to do this without any sort of super soldier serum in them. I'm like, wait, that's just wrong, right? That's not supposed to be how it works. Right. But one thing I noticed about how Sam is catching the shield as he's going through this training montage is that he actually gets his hands under the shield and catches the straps before he gets conked in the head with the shield.
Right.
And that's a different way because Cap being Cap, when I say Cap, I really mean Steve Rogers.
Of course.
Right? Cap being Cap catches the shield, on edge because he can.
Right.
So can Bucky because he's already done that, in the Winter Soldier, and he's done it a couple of times since.
And like Cap had super soldier serum in him, so
right. So ultimately, and it's a testament to Sam Wilson's in in his soon to be, and this is not a really big spoiler, in his soon to be role as Captain America, he's just going to be a different Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to be the Captain America that we're used to, but it's going to be Sam Wilson's Captain America. He's going to be catching the shield a little differently. He's going to act a
Maybe.
little differently. He may not necessarily be able to punch his way through things. So that's why he's going to, at least in this version, talk his way through some things.
Right.
So, but yeah, I noticed. I don't know if you saw that.
I did. Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was a really subtle note.
There was a couple of different,
how different he would be as Captain America.
Right. There was a couple of different ways because he did end up, because I think in one of the shots he did end up actually catching it by the edge of it. I think in the last shot or something like that. But it was like, yeah, there was a couple of different ways where he caught it. And even when he and Bucky were practicing, you can see them both kind of catching it, like you said, by the strap, like it was just like being sheathed. I'm sitting here like, yeah, that is kind of crazy. Also,
right? Seriously, like that thing is spinning.
Right.
Like, how do you know? Whatever, man.
Right. But also, Sam's pretty much got some good reflexes because that one bounce that went over his head. That he managed to duck. I'm sort of like, okay, that was pretty good. That thing had to be
getting decapitated by himself.
Right. Because he happened to duck one, so it was like, shoot, Which again, that was one of the ones like that had to hit something.
Right. I honestly appreciated that because it definitely showed that it's not just anything that someone should wield.
Right.
You need to have practice with it at the very least. So.
Right.
So anyway, Anyway, once we get past the once we get past the training montage, we segue over to Carly in. I couldn't exactly place the park that they're in, but it's heavily implied that they are in Manhattan, in New York City, and they're in seeming easy view of the Chrysler Building, which is apparently where the GRC is going to be meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Carly and one of the Flag Smashers are in this park waiting to meet someone, and it is no one else other than Georges Betrock the Lepere. And he has been tasked by Sharon Carter to deliver something to Carly, and it turns out that Batroc is in it just to try to kill the Falcon because of what happened in the first episode of this series.
Yep. So that happens, and the other Flag Smasher that's with Carly is like, oh, so we're working with criminals now,
Right.
And Batroc's like, nah, I'm just here to kill the Falcon. Y'all do y'all thing, and shows them what they have, which is a bunch of guns and whatever the case may be, whatever was in that case. And then they end up Carly hit something on her phone, causes a notification goes off all around the park, which is pretty much brings all the people or most of the people who were in that park, I guess that were followers closer to her. Excuse me. They get so we don't necessarily get to find out what they're doing there until a couple of minutes later, but we see them all coming together to get ready to do what they're going to do. We forgot to mention that when Joaquin was talking to Sam earlier, Sam's, because Sam's wings had gotten busted up in a previous episode, he had asked Sam what do you want to do with them. Sam was like, keep the wings. So we can pretty much, I feel like we're gonna see Joaquin fix those wings up and become the Falcon that he's meant to be, like in the comics. Right. Maybe not the exact same version, but
yeah, exactly. Not necessarily the same version. I knew that's what you were gonna say.
Right.
So we get Joaquin Torres telling Sam that that ping, that activity that Carly sets off to draw in the other Flag Smashers is a key to their location, and Sam opens the Wakandan briefcase that Bucky had dropped off. So we'll discuss what we think is in the briefcase at the in a minute, but ultimately this episode ends with the meeting of the GRC members, the Global Relocation Committee. They're voting on the Patch Act, which is supposed to move 20 million refugees back to their countries of origin.
May or may
They're
not be a
arguing
reference
over
to.
it. Say again?
I was about to say may or may not be a reference to Wolverine, but we're gonna keep it
Right.
pushing.
I doubt that, but
I know, but
right. So, but in any event, before the vote can go through, the GRC has been infiltrated by the Flag Smashers, and they basically interrupt the proceedings and basically put a hold to everything. So there is an end credit scene after this,
yes, there is.
which involves a callback to, and it's an ironic callback to Tony Stark in the Middle East, where he is working on the original Iron Man Mark One, and it is the clanging of a hammer against raw or bare metal. But in this case, it is John Walker creating his own shield, using metal apparently that he's scrounged up with, and he's putting some ugly welds on.
Mm-hmm.
And he's using his own medals of honor to weld onto the shield itself as a reminder for him.
Right, and I feel like I know this kind of sort of came up in the current miniseries, the U.S. Agent miniseries, about him losing shields because of they're not they're not made of vibranium. They're pretty much cheap knockoffs that he ended up getting, not knockoffs, but he's probably be. But I don't know, like, did we even know he had this kind of skills to be doing metal work like this before?
Nope.
So I'm like, he's just like banging out all like he's Tony Stark in the cave, like you said. But which I know that somebody did mention that out there. But so I was like, okay, yeah, this is the thing. So yeah, he's making a shield. He's doing this thing. We're probably gonna see U.S. Agent next episode,
Or at least the tease of it.
right?
So
and yeah, go ahead.
right, no, I was about to say, so if you don't have anything else for the end of the episode, I would just wrap with thoughts. But I think the first thing I would want to ask is what you think is in the case.
Oh, I mean, that's easy. Wings.
Do you think that they would also provide him a vibranium suit to help protect him?
Possibly. I mean, it could very well be the whole suit.
To give him more, right? To give him more of protection in battle, because as we kind of harp on, and one of the things that Sam, makes plainly clear is that he's still a regular dude. He's not a super soldier,
right?
So he needs a little bit of extra protection in the field. So I wonder if they're going to give him like a vibranium mesh uniform.
Maybe possibly. Now we also, this is also kind of follows, if this is the case, it does follow in the comics, because he does end up getting his, I believe his
original wings came from vibranium, from Wakanda.
No, the ones he had now.
Oh, I'm not sure about the ones he has now.
No, they do. They are. Because I remember saying in probably in the last Captain America, or when he was Captain America or something like. But they did say it was vibranium. So yeah. But it's just like a newer version of, obviously.
Right. But he's still wearing basically a spandex suit.
Pretty much.
In the comics, whereas I honestly hope that they give him, and it's very generous, obviously, to give somebody who's not the king of Wakanda vibranium mesh suit.
But they're probably going to take him out, though.
What's that?
They're probably going to give him a lot of a good bit of tech, even if they don't just do a whole vibranium suit. Like, the tech's going to be on point.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly. But I think my only, I think we're all in agreement that they're a new set of wings. It's just a matter of whether or not they give him a tricked out suit so that he is better protected as the Falcon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as Captain America, but when I say as the Falcon, I really mean like he's unpowered.
Right. Now, will they go full? Like, that would be kind of presumptuous, but maybe not, but like, will they go, if they do give him a suit, will it be a version of his current comic book suit? Or not the current comic book suit, but what his
His
Captain
cap
America,
suit?
right? Like, will they
I think
give a certain version of that?
I think so. It'll be an adaptation of it,
Mm-hmm.
which means he won't have winghead. He'll still have goggles, probably because he's going to be flying,
Right.
and he's going to have an exposed head.
Right. Yeah. Like, I can see that. So
Yeah, that's
we'll,
what I foresee.
yeah.
So, but yeah, it's my hope that they give him a vibranium mesh suit so that he can be better protected.
We shall see. We shall see. And in a few short hours from this recording, is when the Falcon and Winter Soldier, the last episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, episode 6, will arrive on our streaming service, Disney Plus. So, and we, of course, next week we will definitely let you guys know how that turns out.
Right.
But yeah, and with that, we will go over, start to get over to the comic book news. I mean, not the comic book news, excuse me, into comic book reviews, not news. And we're going to start off with, I believe we said Avengers number 45.
Right.
So, let's see, Avengers number 45, written by Jason Aaron, art by Luca Maresca.
Right. This is I made a reference earlier. I made a joke earlier before the show that this week seemed to be filled with fill-in artists, and this is a name that is unfamiliar to me. So it was interesting to see a new name on the Avengers art list, a list of artists that is.
Right. Yep. Yeah, you're right, because there was a couple of names from the stuff that I read. It was like, I don't know these people. But color artist David Curiel, and lettering by VC's Corey Pettit. So if you want to go ahead and hit that off.
Sure. So this is the aftermath of King in Black, and I know that Roddykat has not read King in Black. He does know, I'm presuming, lots of the broad stroke stuff.
Pretty much. Yeah.
The King Null, the King in Black, has been repelled, and now the Avengers are trying to slowly get back into their own swing of things. The first several pages of the book involve some of the daily routines that the current roster of Avengers go through on a daily basis. We have Captain America beating the world record for running a mile by a minute and 15 seconds.
This first part was kind of funny because it's like, yeah, we see Cap doing that, and it's like, yep, delete the record, and then we see Carol bench pressing a whole lot of weight, and the Mountain Sons were like, yeah, you just beat this record, delete it, and everybody pretty much doing things and deleting their records.
Or doing superhuman things.
Right. With the exception of Tony. Well, I guess Tony also, but yeah.
Right. They're doing extraordinary things. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Including Thor getting drunk enough to anesthetize a herd of full-grown blankety blanks because Thor cuts off the computer. We get everything up to Robbie Reyes not picking up or at least listening to messages, and Blade running automated Mandroid combat training,
which was weird.
Right. So T'Challa is, going through his extensive work schedule and rescheduling meetings, and going through with his computerized assistant, which apparently takes on the form of King T'Chaka.
Mm-hmm. And I think the Mountain, or whatever AI they got working in the Mountain, is pretty much taking form of something close to each individual ones. And they also got Spotify, apparently. Not necessarily true, but they have their own Alexa.
Exactly. So, we get a little bit of a hint of what is about to transpire in this issue as a result of what happened in King in Black. And, obviously Roddykat has read this now, so it is not a big spoiler, but spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't read this issue yet, or anyone who has not read King in Black, spoiler alert. So one of the groups that apparently lent their hand to the effort to repel the Null invasion were the vampires in the Vampire Nation that currently take up residence in the radioactive wasteland surrounding the Chernobyl nuclear power plant.
Mm-hmm.
And um, Kyle Richmond, one of the members of the Squadron Supreme, is in his civilian guise as a congressman. Basically, is in conference with T'Challa about what Dracula, King Dracul, or Count Dracula or Count Dracul is looking to do in the footsteps of the mutants on Krakoa, which is to establish an autonomous vampire nation, as I said, located around the radioactive wasteland of Chernobyl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And this is all based on the fact that they put their necks on the line. Oh, that's a pun. They're vampires. They put themselves on the line against Null, and they're saying, look, we're contributing to society. Yes, we're vampires, but you should recognize us the same way you recognize mutants, and that's the crux of their argument.
Mm-hmm. I thought that was a pretty interesting spin that Dracula put on it. As being like they call us monsters, but we're actually immune. What's it called? Immune deficient people who
Or vitamin deficient, I think. Vitamin or
something like
nutrient
that.
Yeah.
But they choose to call us monsters, and going into how they want their sovereignty and this and that. I'm like, that's as you said, just like the Krakoans. I'm like, yeah, I picked that up too. I'm sitting there like, all right, that was an interesting way to play it, I guess, because I'm saying like, where is this going? I'm like, oh, but there you go. So, which is kind of curious given what's going on, which obviously the time frame that comics go on, especially this one, in relation to what's going on in Wolverine, who I believe is still dealing with the vampires,
Right.
Is a little off. So probably that's probably happening.
They might be happening in conjunction with each other.
Right. We don't know
because of what happens. Right. Because of what we find out at the end of this issue.
Right.
So as Roddykat said, there is some possible. There are some possible interconnected stories between this and the pages of Wolverine, but in the meantime, we catch up with some of the other members of the Avengers, coming off the wake of the Phoenix story that just ended in the last issue, and we have Robbie and Maya Lopez basically breaking bread.
Kind of have a little bonding moment,
And I guess Robbie is being a little presumptuous in welcoming Maya to the Avengers.
Maybe.
I'm like, wait, who died and made you chairperson?
I mean, look, they've added people to the roster for way less than this, so in way less time.
I'm just used to like a vote. I'm used to seeing everybody around the table.
No, I know. I mean, I agree with you that, but I've also seen that where it's like, you're in the fight, you're an Avenger.
Right. He's pulling a Hawkeye and Wanda moment, right?
Kind of.
So, but we segue over to a few days later when the vampires are starting to get some deliveries of blood supplies for their for their consumption as gifts. And the Avengers are surrendering one of their prisoners of war, the sergeant who looks like a dog, from the time that they tried to invade Avengers Mountain. And what we get here is the presentation of terms from the world, from the countries of the world and Wakanda, and the Avengers, and what the vampires get in return for recognition of their sovereignty is the imposition of a particular brand of lawman.
I was gonna say they get Reggie Hammond, but not really.
From what, another 48 hours?
From 48 hours, but no, I mean no. So
From another 48 hours from the second one?
I was thinking, well, I don't remember the second one all that much, so
Okay, I gotcha.
but
You know.
sure, we'll go with that.
No, I mean, the only reason why I was thinking of the second one is because he comes in and says, "Anybody else want a limp?" That's kind of like what.
No, that was the first one.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Oh,
that was the first one.
I'm misremembering.
So yeah, because yeah, that was when he was in the I think it was when they were in the bar, and that's when he was pulling pulling the thing. Yeah, so that was the first one. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so he pulls that, and apparently Blade is now the new sheriff of Vamptown, or as he says it. Which I'm saying, like, that's a weird way to go with this, but that's interesting. Also,
because they're not going to concede all of to all of Dracula's demands.
Right.
So it's interesting that they would put the one day walker in charge of policing the vampire nation.
Right. And he's basically saying like, "Yep, I'll be here when y'all wake up, and I'll be there when y'all go to to make sure y'all go to sleep, or when y'all go to sleep." So,
yeah, it was a pretty interesting twist at the end of this issue.
I weirdly enough, I kind of read that like Marion from Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'm your new god doggone partner, but except for I'm the sheriff. So yeah. But we also, this is a really small point, very, very small point, but Namor shows up on the cover, does not show up anywhere in this book. I mean, in this issue. So, but what we do get is a teaser for the new Moon Knight ongoing that is coming about, and it's going to be written by Jed MacKay, who we already like. So.
Right, and it was actually announced in previews for July that came out earlier today.
Right. So it was interesting timing. Also, interesting timing that this because at first I was like, all right, we know this takes place after King in Black. We didn't know how far along it did, but it also comes after Beta Ray Bill #1, which. I guess that there was a point in them saying that bringing that part up with the whole Thor thing, but at least we get some sort of a time frame. But overall, Avengers 45 this is where we at, and I guess we're gonna move back over to whatever's going into the Phoenix stuff later. I don't know. I have no idea where we're going.
I mean, we're only going to get so far until we get to the whole Heroes Reborn thing, and that's pretty much we suspect that's where the Phoenix stuff is going to come back.
Yep.
But we're not sure at this point.
Yeah. Or at least very much leading up to it. Yeah.
Right. So we're not sure how we're going to get to that point, and it's only it's a few more issues away until Heroes Reborn starts. So we are presuming that it's going to kick off in the pages of Avengers. So we'll see how we get to that point.
Right. So moving right along, you got a book you wanna?
Not particularly, feel free to throw one out.
Okay. Let's I guess go towards Champions, I guess, real quick.
Sure. So Champions is written by Danny Lore, with art by Luciano Vecchio, colors by Federico Blee, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. So we open this issue with the story is titled Killer App, and this is the first part of this storyline. And we open with a break-in at a bank in New York City, and it is being committed by some powered slash technologically advanced ne'er-do-wells, and the champions, as they are currently constituted, Miss Marvel, Ironheart, Nova, Viv, Vision, and Spidey Miles Morales, um, stop, interrupt this particular bank heist and put them down, only to find out that this was all set up by the bank's security system, and the champions foiled this and don't even get any credit. Or actually, wait, they would be the test robbers would only be liable if they were attacked by superheroes due to them not notifying the proper channels.
Right.
But it turns out, because of the Underage Superhuman Welfare Act, aka Kamala's law, um, they don't consider the champions a legitimate superhero team. So they do. So these ne'er-do-wells don't get any hazard pay.
Right. And also bums out the champions because they were apparently eavesdropping on the conversation that this was going down in after that happens, or after they
Right.
stop the robbery. So this kind of leads to a little bit of dissent. Well, it doesn't lead to, because it was already kind of there. So this leads to a little bit more of the troubles within the team, because they, after coming out of outlawed and the law is still in place, but may or may not be taken down or not. So they're still kind of under that, which means that, like Agent 70 said, they're not really being treated as other adult superhero teams would have been in that same situation, or in a situation that they thought it was going to be. And this kind of leads to a little bit of fighting, and Riri leaves because she's kind of tired. But you could also see some things happening during the course of the fight, and so they're still kind of going through it with all that stuff. So Miss Marvel's talking to Viv, Vision, and Riri and Miles are talking, in their respective corners or in their respective places about things, and at different times. But it all pretty much comes back down to the fact that Roxxon, well, this kind of goes from that to goes to Roxxon and this whole. I've seen we've been seeing a lot of stories lately that have something to do with social media and the use of in the comics lately, and I don't know how to feel about it, or some sort of social media leanings, and I think there's been a couple of times this week that ended up happening. But Roxxon's making a social media app, and they're kind of touting it. And Snow Guard, I keep wanting to call her Snowbird, like the Alpha Flight character. And that's probably not going to stop anytime soon. But Snow Guard is pretty much protesting Roxxon away from the other champions. She got a group of people together to do that. And then the team at large is just kind of catches wind of this, and they themselves, start looking into Roxxon's dealings, which leads them to go to do the plan that we saw the bit of at the end of the last issue.
Exactly.
Where they're going to infiltrate Roxxon and try to take it down from the inside. And in the midst of this, we also see some Roxxon person and some kid or some young adult that I guess came out of the 2020 stuff. That I did not read, that apparently Riri knows well about, because just like Sam, I was like, am I supposed to know who this person is? And because I totally didn't read the 2020 stuff, but apparently Riri knew about him, and some things happened, and all of that leads to the end, like I said. So I thought it was a decent read, I would say, but I'm kind of
obviously they're making statements. They're obviously the Danny Lore and the editorial team, they're obviously going to make a statement on the effects of social media, and how they're not they can obviously be abused, and used for nefarious purposes. So that's obviously the direction that they're going in here. So
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so that's Champions number 6.
Oh, you want to do just like one or two more before we do rapid fire?
Yeah. I guess Amazing.
Sure. All right. So Amazing Spider-Man number 64 is written by Nick Spencer with art by Federico Vicentini, colors by Alex Sinclair. I fixed my typo on my sheet. And letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. So we open this issue with Baron Mordo trying to assist the Kingpin with their with the kindred problem that the Kingpin and Norman Osborn have. In the meantime, the Kingpin's plot to go after the actually check that before that. Actually, no, it's obviously all one big part of this whole race for the tablets that the Kingpin is looking for. Robbie Robertson and Lonnie Lincoln meet up at the in the aftermath of a battle around Peter Parker's shared apartment, and they get they get there just after the battle that we saw break out at the end of last issue.
Right, and then we get a little bit of a recap from Peter as Spidey about what happened at the end, or what actually happened during the that whole scenario. And we couldn't find out that apparently Spidey needs Robbie and Tombstone's help some kind of way, so they have to team up and get some information from a contact of Robbie's, buddy cop style, I guess you could say. So wait, so real quick, so when Spidey came in on Robbie and Tombstone, he webbed both of them up. Now I could see a case where Tombstone would be able to get them off. How was Robbie just taking them off like that? Like maybe it was a light spritzing or webbing or not, but that seemed like a kind of.
I was about to say, I think it's implied that it's a very light, very small amount of webbing. It's just meant to kind of break them up as opposed to tie them up.
Sure. But even then, it's like, well, isn't this webbing supposed to be sticking out to where it's supposed to stay with you for? Maybe this is me thinking about
I was
this too
just
much.
Blame Nora Winters.
Maybe
it's her suits.
I know, right? Which, and speaking of the suit, we come to find out it's made of unstable molecules, which apparently people can just get their hands on at this point. Which actually is, that's.
You got me.
That's legit at this point now, because every other time you turn around, unstable molecules. It wasn't the big thing. It's not the big thing as it used to be. But so yeah, we get Tombstone and Robbie.
That's how the Fantastic Four gets money. Reed sells the patents.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
He licenses the patents, that is.
Right. Yeah. So and come to find out that like I said, during the course of this, we get caught up with where Randy and Janice Lincoln are, who have been taken by Madam Mask and Crime Master. And then there's that whole talk between them about their stake in everything. And apparently, now maybe I must have missed that. I didn't know that Robbie knew about the tablet hunt that Peter and Boomerang were doing, because he mentions it. And I'm sitting like, wait, he was supposed to know about that?
Whatever.
Because I'm sitting here like, well, wait, does that mean he knows he's Spider-Man or something? Because okay, but and there's a couple of things that doesn't make any kind of sense in some interactions.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, but it's neither here nor there. I just happened to notice that. I'm like, who, what, how, who, what? All right, cool, whatever. So regardless, after it's all said and done, and we get this whole big exposition from Crime Master and Madam Master about their place in this, it kind of cuts back to Spidey trying to come back to collect Boomerang, who's woken up and gone off to, as I say in my notes, gone off to die. because he basically leaves Peter a note and says, "Yeah, I don't want to get you in trouble. I mean, I don't want to keep troubling because you're the most weakless, you're the most helpless of us all." And I'm sitting there like, it almost sounds like he knows he's Spidey, but at the same time he says things like that, and I'm like, what? So he's gone off, and then we get another, I guess what we'll call an end credit scene with, and I know this has been also announced because I think we got something in the news about this.
Right, it's July solicits too.
Right.
Yeah.
So the OG Doc Ock is back, and I say OG because it's not like he's been. So what's going on with that? Have you how, or do we propose to know that yet?
I've lost track. I think I blame Spencer's storytelling or lack thereof for kind of getting me a little bit off track with this. I literally was looking at my pull list and trying to figure if I wanted to add the Sinister War, which is what we're going to talk about, to come out in July. I mean, I don't know.
Right. Yeah. So old school Doc Ock is back, which at last I checked, he was in a clone body and living out in San Francisco. He was in a clone Peter body, I think, or something like that, out in San Francisco. Back when he was still doing the back when Superior Spider-Man, not Superior Spider-Man, but whatever the Spider-Man book was at the time. But as far as I know, we hadn't seen him since. But now we got this old, this original recipe Doc Ock back in the mix, chubby Doc Ock, who just got Rathaconned, as I say in my notes, because of the whole earwig thing.
Oh yeah.
And we know that has something to do with Kendrick. So, and again, like Agent 7 said, leading into whatever the Sinister War is going to be. And that's what ends this issue. So I'm like, okay, there's a lot going on here. And yeah, I'm kind of with you about the storytelling. I'm like, yeah, just things kind of get picked up and put down and just all kind of willy-nilly. So we don't know what Spencer's doing, but hopefully it pays off for him. That being said, though, we can move on to. Actually, I forgot to put that book in the thing. I guess we can kind of go ahead and do rapid fire because I don't know if there's anything else in here. Honestly, that's like there's some decent stuff that came out this week, but nothing like that stands out all that much. So if you want to go ahead and spin it up. Unless you got something.
No, I was just looking up to see in the wiki to see if they had updated how Otto gets to this point. Because I don't remember, and I'm kind of embarrassed that neither of us know.
Yeah, I'm not embarrassed about it. I think I'm just chalking it up to like it either came up in something that we weren't reading, or it hasn't been addressed at all. Which I'm probably more inclined to think that it hasn't really been addressed.
I'm literally scrolling through the wiki like, when did this happen?
While he's doing that, actually,
I mean, I'll spin it up, but yeah. I'm just, like I said, just very, very much annoyed.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, they might have just sprung this on us, as a part of the story,
right? Because even then, I think if I remember correctly, he said something about there's missing gaps in his memory. So that's kind of suggesting something.
Right.
That may or may not have had to do with what we knew of prior to now.
Right. So,
Yeah.
But in any event, I will spin it up and let's go do rapid fire.
Yeah. Rapid fire.
Alrighty, so we have done Avengers, Amazing, and Champions.
Mm-hmm.
Did you read Eternals?
I didn't get a chance to.
Eternals number 4 is written by Kieron Gillen with art by Esad Rabich, colors by Matthew Wilson, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. So we are actually getting some story development in this issue where we have more information on the killer, the person behind the killing of Zuras, and we also get some possible hints at some betrayals within the Eternals. We also get more description of um, some of the politics within the Eternal cities. So there's definitely more to this issue than there have been in the first three. Um, Next up is Justice League number 60 from DC, written by Brian Michael Bendis, with art by David Marquez, colors by Tamara Bonvillain, and letters by Josh Reed. So in this issue, this is the next step in the Infinite Frontiers soft reboot of the DC comic book line. Here, the Justice League has been infused with some different membership. They have put Teth Adam, aka Black Adam, into the lineup, as well as Naomi, because this is a Bendis book. And we have Queen Hippolyta taking on the mantle of Wonder Woman. Um, the crux of this initial story is that they need to bring in some new blood to the Justice League as a result of um, invaders from Naomi's home dimension coming in. And with these invaders proving to be stupendously powerful, the Justice League opt to try to confront them on their home dimension territory. And that does not go exactly as planned. And um, that is the point of the cliffhanger ending at the end of the issue.
Are you up on the whole Naomi thing or no?
Not at all.
Hmm. Yeah, neither am I. I keep saying I'm gonna read that miniseries and go and finish up that Young Justice run, but I didn't get it, but I haven't done it yet. So oh well. Moving right
Gotcha.
along.
Not at all. So, getting back to rapid fire. Next up is Mighty Valkyries #1. It's a book written by Jason Aaron and Torunn Grønbæk. There's actually two stories here in this issue. We have two. Oh, by the way, there is a Justice League Dark backup story at the end of Justice League number 60. Uh, Mighty Valkyries has, as I said, two stories in it. There is a Jane Foster story written by Jason Aaron and Torunn Grønbæk with art by Mattia de Ulis. Letters by VC's Joe Sabino on both stories. There is also a new Valkyrie story written by Torunn Grønbæk with art by Erica De Urso and colors by Marcio Menes. The Jane Foster Valkyrie story is sets up the direction of this next miniseries. It's a story involving Loki and his progeny, his Norse mythological progeny, not necessarily the comic book ones, but they've always played a little fast and loose with how they've adapted it. There's actually some really great storytelling and art that accompanies this first Jane Foster story by Mattia de Ulis, and it's really, really engaging. The second story involving the new Valkyrie is a reveal of sorts, where we follow the new Valkyrie who is meant to be inspired by the Valkyrie
version.
introduced in Thor Ragnarok.
Which actually I did,
Played by Tessa Thompson.
right, which I did tell you I watched a little bit of today, and I got to that point. So when I watched a little bit of it today. So yeah, this backup story, because I did also read this also. And that the first story that has a little Doctor Strange thing, I was like, because I keep forgetting they work at the same hospital. So I was like, of course they had to shoehorn in an interaction between them, but no, not really. They work at the same hospital, so that makes sense. They're gonna run into each other. But also that backup story where we get to find out a little bit more information that we did not know about this new Valkyrie, as you say, kind of comes to light. Because she finds out her name,
right?
Which we don't gonna give here, but I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it actually. But Yeah, we get that information, and I'm assuming going forward there's going to be some interaction uh, in the main story between her and Jane and possibly Loki, from what they've been talking about with this book. So, but yeah, I enjoyed it myself. I thought it was a pretty good start. Both stories were, so that has some interest to it. So I'm kind of interested to see where it's going to go. But yeah, go ahead, finish up.
All right, next up is Nightwing number 79, written by Tom Taylor with art by Bruno Redondo, colors by Adriano Lucas, and letters by Wes Abbott. So again, this is some more fresh start stuff because of Infinite Frontier. We have Nightwing exploring his new status quo as a result of, damn it, sports.
He's really choked up about Nightwing, folks.
Mother. So, um, stupid. Anyway,
Sports ball.
it's baseball, folks. Getting back to Nightwing, stupid baseball.
Oh boy, yes, Nightwing.
Nightwing's figuring out what to do with his with the inheritance that he's gotten from Alfred. Because apparently he has probably just as much money as Bruce Wayne now, who is no longer a billionaire but still fairly rich. Maybe not wealthy, but still rich. So he's basically trying to figure out a new direction for his heroic career in Bloodhaven, and he's got Barbara Gordon into as a romantic interest, and I kind of enjoy this pairing because I'm not the most avid reader of Nightwing, but this is sort of the pairing and the relationship I always kind of traditionally understood to be what they what they were always kind of going for.
Right, they've been off and on for a while.
Right, and I just kind of appreciate the story kind of going in that direction and taking it a little further along than what we're used to seeing. And we have like I said, Nightwing kind of figuring out what his purpose is going to be in Bloodhaven, in the new reality that he has that he's in now that he's got his memories back and he's got the money he's inherited from Alfred. So next up is a book that I think you read as well, and that is Way of X #1.
Yep.
Written by Cy Spurrier with art by Bob Quinn, colors by Java Tartaglia. What a name. And letters by VC's Clayton Cowell. So this book has been teased in the pages of, I want to say, the other X books. I'm not exactly sure in which books this happened, but it's been teased that Nightcrawler has had some misgivings about some of the attitudes and practices that have come out of the wonders of Krakoa, namely the resurrection protocols and a lot of the things that surround that. And obviously, being a member of the priesthood, depending on who's who which writers you think are canon. That's my understanding, is that he is actually a member of the priesthood. And obviously being a pretty religious person in his own right, with or without his priestly collar. He's definitely got some misgivings about what has some of the moral and the spiritual conflicts that come up as a result of the resurrection protocols in Krakoa. And he has maybe as an aside mentioned that he wanted to create a Krakoan faith practice. and it's at the end of the day he's not sure what he wants to do, and ultimately what ends up happening is this issue is a little bit of an exploration of some of the moral and spiritual quandaries that can come up as a result of the resurrection protocol and what has happened to some of the um Krakoans who can seem to be or can be seen to be abusing it or at least taking it for granted.
Yeah.
And and some of the philosophical questions that leave Kurt kind of at a loss for the most part during this entire issue. And ultimately what comes to his attention is a task that Professor X has put upon him to investigate a presence on the island that has been hiding itself from Professor X. And lo and behold, it is a spoiler alert that I'm going to invoke, but not spoil because it is a reveal on the last page for the cliffhanger. And
Okay.
that is Way of X #1. Do you have anything to add?
No, not really. There was a good little jab at Magneto's expense that he having to do with some former dealings of his that he turned it into a sermon. That was kind of amusing. But yeah, it was that whole thing where the kids were kind of taking advantage of the kind of taking for granted that the resurrection protocols are in place, and what happens to one of them that they just kind of just blase like, yeah, no, let's just go ahead and do it. Just, pop your cherry on it. I'm saying like that's kind of crazy, but also it's kind of one of those like, yeah, kids think they're invincible type situations that's out in the real world.
Right.
But
So,
yeah,
there's still the threat. There seems to be a dual threat, at least, is what's implied, is that there is this rumor of what do you call it, the Patchwork Man,
yes,
and there is the reveal that's at the end of the issue, who may or may not be the Patchwork Man, but probably is not. And that is the first threat that Kurt is going to end up having to deal with as a result of Professor X giving him this particular task. So I thought it was an interesting book. I really did appreciate the philosophical um, questions that Cy Spurrier through Kurt Wagner puts forth with regards to this resurrection protocol on Krakoa now, and how it can be abused and treated as, cheapening life and cheapening, what they do.
right.
They go on missions, and I kind of appreciated that. So I definitely, found this story intriguing.
Yeah, same here. Also, I found it interesting to note that they invoked Wanda's name a couple of times in a negative way, which they had
They
been already, but the way they did it here is kind of interesting, and I wonder if they're going to do anything more with that.
They have that's exactly how they do it. And what's
Hmm.
funny is that it's exactly the same person that does it. It's Exodus.
Right.
It's not his first time doing telling this particular story this way, where Exodus is calling her the great pretender, and the person behind the depowering of the
Hmm.
majority of mutantdom.
Right.
So it's something that has always been brewing since the Age of Krakoa started.
It's true. Yeah, so I'm kind of curious as that because we thought it was going to come up during whatever that whatever that series was. There was a mini series where they had the zombies going on, and that she had kind of started up that she had a hand in during some event, but I can't remember. But that apparently didn't happen. She was just a catalyst to start off the whole ball
Was it
rolling. Was it Empire? Yeah, it
Yeah,
was Empire. Yes, it was. You're right. So, but that didn't come up to anything. So maybe they'll do something with it. But regardless,
last for me, I still have one last book.
yeah, go for it.
X-Force #19, written by Benjamin Percy, art by Gary Brauble, colors by Guru EFX, letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. So The story that's been going on so far is that Quentin Quire has had, as a result of him dying several times and pieces of him probably being used for experimentation. They find out that that suspicion is correct, and that the group that had kidnapped Domino and taken some of her genetic material had taken some of Quentin's as well. And basically, it was the dark side of Quentin Quire's personality and powers was threatening to take out Quentin and the rest of the X-Force team, and eventually the rest of Krakoa. In this episode, they bring that particular story to a conclusion, but ultimately we still have this threat of Xeno, that group that kidnapped the two of them to try to create human beings with the simulation, or the addition of mutant powers without actually being mutants. And that is it for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've always kind of wondered about that part about it, because like, yeah, in the places that they've died outside of Krakoa and Otherworld aside, like, what happens to the bodies? Like, I don't think they've necessarily always addressed what happens to the bodies when they die, because it's just like, nope, they died and then they come back later. And I know X Factor is kind of the ones that are like you know the missing bodies. We find out what happens to that, the kind of things, but they never, like I said, they don't really go into some of the other cases. So it's interesting that they address it here. For myself, Spider-Woman number 11 is my book, as well, is my next book anyway. I don't know if you plan on reading this or not, or do you? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Wait.
No, I'm sorry. I was looking for a lozenge.
Okay, gotcha.
What were you saying?
Spider-Woman 11. I don't know if you plan on read.
I skimmed. I
oh,
skimmed it. Go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, so this is basically so we're past King in Black. This is, as you can see from the cover there, it's pretty much a new jumping on point. She's got the old costume back in play now. This was kind of a fun read, but also because it's kind of back to basics for Jess. Like, King in Black is over. She's, her life is kind of getting back together. All that other stuff that happened to her with the virus or whatever that was going on, that was afflicting her, is all taken care of. She's back home with Roger and the kid. So she's back at the place, and she's sitting there talking to the person that made her old suit, that was also tracking her, and basically getting back to her old suit and trying to get that squared away. And then she gets back into action with a couple of people. I have no idea if this is like the first time they've shown up ever. I'm going to assume that it is. Like, these are some brand new quote unquote villains that she goes up against and kind of has a time with throughout the whole thing. But like I said, this whole thing is just in service of getting just kind of back to the roots of things, busting up the bad guys, and I guess being a mom again, although we don't really see some of them. But we also see another little side thing that is probably going to come back up next episode with someone in her life. But yeah, like, if you like the character of Spider-Woman, aka Jessica Drew, you may, and you kind of laughed on it. This is a place to go in if you want to, like, it's the start of a new arc, and kind of getting back to pre-event. Well, not even pre-event, but getting back to some sort of a regular story line with her. Next up, though, is that it? Oh yeah, The Trials of Ultraman number 2. As I sit here and try to find the book cover real quick. Sorry. Trials of Ultraman number 2. Oh, I forgot to give the writers the creative team on Spider-Woman. So writer is Carla Pacheco, art by Perry Perez, color artist by Frank Darmada, and lettering by VC's Travis Lanham. The creative team on Trials of Ultraman is being written by Kyle Higgins and Matt Groom, art by Francisco Mana, color artist Espen Grundigern. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right, and lettering by VC's Ariana Mayer. So basically, Shin and Ultraman find out that Dan Moribashi is alive. Dan Moribashi is a previous wielder of the Ultraman power, but he is back after what 54 years, I believe they said, and he has no memory of anything. So it's kind of curious as to why he's back. The USP is going off to try to find him, but he's been captured by this one group that doesn't like the USP. So Shin and Kiki have to go undercover and try to find him and to infiltrate and rescue him, which doesn't necessarily go off without a hitch. And of course, Ultraman is called into action, even though it's against he has this thing against getting into human affairs, but since things end up jumping off, he ended up doing that. But a kaiju ends up coming into play at the end of this. A sort of a kaiju ends up coming into play at the end of this. And I feel like just in time for Godzilla, or not just in time, but this is after Godzilla and Kong thing happened. Let's just say there is a similar type kaiju that that is invoked here, that was introduced. Well, that had come out during the course of Godzilla versus Kong, and classically in Godzilla lore, but still, that gets used here in a fashion. Next up, though, the next Batman Second Son, number 8. This is a digital first, as I've been saying, a digital first comic. It's going to come to physical at some point down the line, but here's what we got. It's written by John Ridley, that John Ridley, 12 Years a Slave one. Artist Travel Foreman, inks by Norm Rapmund, colors by Rex Locus, and letters by Darren Bennett. So this is some information I did not know. Jace, who is going to become the next Batman, this is taking place before Future State, or I guess at the time Future State starts, basically. So it's kind of quote unquote present day. Just find out that Jace, aka Tim, is the oldest Fox kid. Did not know this. And we also get to find out what that whole big mystery that they were hinting around about for this whole volume, and even in Future State, that was never to be told. And apparently it's just it's straight out of a PSA. So boo. I was thinking it was some big dark thing that they had to hide, and it's like, no, it turns out don't text and drive, folks. That's all I'll say. It's kind of a spoiler, okay. But yeah, I was like, that's a letdown, though. I'm like, you had all of that build up just for that to be the thing. So, but anyway, that's how that goes, and I think that's how that ends. We come to find out that bit of revelation at the end of this, and the issue ends. And with that is the end of my books. So we'll go to Clicks of the Week.
Clicks of the Week.
And we don't have anything from the other fellas this week. So
I'm going to tell you what I'm considering. I'm considering Way of X #1 because of, I thought, the very well thought out treatment of Nightcrawler's misgivings about, what's some of the philosophical and ethical and moral questions behind the whole resurrection protocol.
Right.
I actually enjoyed Mighty Valkyries. I really enjoyed the first and second stories. I really dug the art by Matei de Ulis on the Jane Foster one, though. I thought that was, tremendous.
Yeah, it was good.
I think those are the two books that really spoke to me this week. So those are going to be the two that I am going to choose between. So while I'm doing that, do you have any do you have a clear contender for yourself?
Actually, I would go along with Mighty Valkyries because I also enjoyed both stories and also Way of X. Actually, I enjoyed what that potentially is going to be because we weren't really sure about how that one was going to go going into it. I think the only other contender I kind of had was Spiderwoman because it was a pretty fun read. All said and done, I thought anyway.
Right. Well, I thought, minor spoiler alert, I thought one of the capabilities that her suit now has that's reminiscent of a belt mounted device that Spider-Man usually has. I thought that was pretty amusing.
Yeah.
So I think what I'm going to do is choose Way of X #1. Just because, I was probably, as you said, more surprised by how this premise was executed. Mighty Valkyries, we're kind of used to Jason Aaron and Turn Grombeck, putting in solid work on Valkyrie. And, they even, as much as Roddykat didn't want to read the King in Black tie-in, I thought it was a fairly strong tie-in that really advanced the Valkyrie story as much as tied into the King in Black stuff. So kind of used to Aaron and Grumbeck coming in with pretty strong stories. So I'm going to go with Way of X #1.
So I guess that was the question I was going to ask you. So we knew we knew this was coming. And you had been reading the Valkyrie stuff from King in Black. Does this tie that? Do you think that's required reading to for this?
To see how we got to this point?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was a couple of things that was like, okay, that sounds like that's something that came out of King in Black, but
right, because that's where we get introduced to the new Valkyrie, who's based on Tessa Thompson's character.
Right.
So yeah, and I'm pretty sure you've heard me say this, but like so many of those miniseries or even one shots were vehicles for books that either ended or were canceled just before King in Black. I'm specifically talking about Valkyrie being one and Ghost Spider being two, where though it turns out those miniseries turned into almost literal continuations of those series. So I think it's pretty important if you want to be fully up to date on the Valkyrie story and where they're, I guess, going to try to go with the Valkyries now and maybe rebuild them as a core, as a group. Yeah, it's probably worth reading. And much as I would say, if you were trying to catch up on Ghost Spider, you probably have to go read those the Carnage versus Spider Gwen or Ghost Spider. I forget what they called it.
Gwenum.
Gwenum. That's it. I'm sorry. Thanks, Gwenum.
Yeah. Sadly. That being said, yeah, I guess I will go with that Spider-Woman was kind of fun, but I think I'm actually going with my Valkyries. Despite having not read the King in Black miniseries prior to this.
What was that? You going with Mighty Valkyries?
Yes.
You up just for a second.
Oh, weird. Yeah, I'm going with Mighty Valkyries, despite not having read the miniseries, the King of Black miniseries.
Right. I get it.
Yeah. That being said, we can go on to an ad read.
All right, our first ad read of the night is for Blue Apron's meal delivery service. Blue Apron, fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered weekly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron, always shipped free right to your home. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
And we start off with the cinematic news as we do every week about this time with going back to a little bit of Falcon and Winter Soldier, actually. Did Falcon and Winter Soldier episode now 5 confirm Power Broker theory? I'm just going to go to say maybe not. But we still don't know what is in store for Sharon Carter. I know there's theories about either her being the power broker or her working with the power broker, and that other theory about her and Countess Valentina de Allegra de Fontaine working together. But we don't know. So, and this just kind of goes into that whole theory about her being the power broker. Next up.
Right, so Marvel has big plans for that surprise Falcon and the Winter Soldier cameos that we mentioned earlier. Spoiler alert again. And I love how they start this article with, in one of the better kept secrets in Marvel's history, because the snipers are out there. Some people respect the snipers, some people don't. 11-time Emmy Award-winning actor Julia Louis-Dreyfus made her surprise MCU debut as Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine in episode 5 of Falcon and Winter Soldier, emerging as a potential big bad of Marvel's second TV series. According to sources close to the production, this character was slated to first appear in the Black Widow film, which, in a pre-COVID world, was scheduled to debut in theaters May 1st, 2020. But Marvel reportedly has even bigger ambitions for Louis Dreyfus's villainous figure. Interesting.
Also, the trademark purple streak in the Countess's hair didn't necessarily play at the beginning of that thing, but you usually see here it's kind of there. Don't ask me why I'm pulling that out, but I'm just saying it's a thing. Next up, though, the Dora Milaje and Dancing Zemo have their own Instagram gifts. Great, now I'm choking.
Exactly. Both of us need some tea with honey or something.
I actually have tea with honey right here in front of me. That's what's making it so bad. But yeah, so this article is talking about how Falcon and Winter Soldier ends this week, which means Marvel fans will likely to have a lot to say about the Disney Plus series on social media. Disney and Marvel have made Twitter a little more fun by adding emojis to Falcon and Winter Soldier hashtags, and that's not the only social media site with some Marvel flair. Instagram have GIF options for stories, and the latest additions for the Falcon and Winter Soldier are the best yet. The Dora Milaje and Dancing Zemo. A popular Instagram account for Falcon and Winter Soldier shared new images of the gifts this week with hashtag replete with, and you can check them out if you're watching the video, which sometimes you should. Check out the video and you can see what we're talking about, or you can check out the show notes, which will be provided. Excuse me. But if you're watching the video, you can see the Instagram post where there's there's Dora gif and the dancing Zemo, excuse me. Which I'm not gonna click on that, but it's fine. Next up.
So, in some WandaVision concept art revealed by Andy Park, director of Marvel Studios Visual Development, he tweeted out a never before seen picture of this WandaVision concept art, which shows Elizabeth Olsen in a different suit than what's seen in the Disney show. He presents it as the Scarlet Witch design he did with her cape and hood. He loved creating both her looks with and without the cape and hood. He calls it the Red Riding Hood look. Interesting.
I mean, there was a comic version of this though, so from that last series that she had. I mean, it's a little bit different from then because even the hood is kind of different because she was kind of a little different feel going on to it, but it's not that far off. But yeah, sure. There you go. WandaVision and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier will be submitted in different Emmy categories. So it says that Marvel Studios producer Nate Moore recently spoke to IndieWire and confirmed that they'll both be put forward in different categories. The Falcon and Winter Soldier is being submitted for Best Drama Series, while WandaVision is taking aim at Best Limited Series, which confirms we won't be getting season 2. The decision came about sort of as the series was launching, but it was something that we were thinking about according to as we were making it according to Nate Moore. So, and it also says something here about let's see. Oh, there was speculation of whether there's going to be a best lead actor nod for either Anthony Mackie or Sebastian Stan in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but we don't know. Next up.
Alrighty, next up, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier's Wyatt Russell has said that he has no interest in replacing his father, Kurt Russell, as Snake Plissken in an Escape from New York reboot, as he describes it as career suicide 101. In an interview with Esquire, Wyatt Russell was responding to a fan question about this rumored reboot of Escape from New York, about whether or not he'd be interested in the leading role. And that was essentially his answer. Like, nope.
Right. I'm not gonna lie. I did not put the connection together. So I did not know that was their kid.
Really?
Yeah, I told. I mean, Russell, like, who knows? Could be any. That's a common enough name.
No, I thought we talked about it though.
No, I don't think we did. If we did, I don't remember. I'll put this way. Yeah. If we did, I don't remember. How about that? Because I don't remember us talking about it. But anyway, that is the thing, and yeah, I get it. So it is what it is.
All right.
Next up, though, Disney Plus's Secret Invasion is eyeing The Crown's Olivia Coleman, which, sure, why not? That's a good get. Disney Plus and Marvel Studios' Secret Invasion is looking to add Olivia Coleman to its rank. Not that I know that much about her, but I keep hearing her name in places. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Coleman is in talks to join the series that will feature Samuel L. Jackson reprising his role. You know who that was, and Ben Mendelsohn as Talos. Coleman is best known for her role as Queen Elizabeth II in The Crown, Godmother in Fleabag, and Queen Anne in The Favorite, for which she won an Academy Award for Best Actress. So cool.
Next up, Emilia Clarke, aka the Mother of Dragons, is in final negotiations to join Marvel Studios' Secret Invasion, the hot original series quickly coming together at Disney Plus. Her role is naturally under wraps, and she joins previously reported cast Sam Jackson, Ben Mendelsohn, Kingsley Ben-Adir, and the rumored Olivia Coleman.
She's totally playing a Skrull. I'm calling it. Actually, I don't know that for certain, but I feel like that's probably something they do.
Who, Emilia Clarke?
Uh-huh.
I've heard Abigail Brand.
I've also heard that too.
So, listen, Queen Varanki, Abigail Brand, not out of the realm of possibility.
I feel like but I feel like from what I've heard about this Olivia Coleman lady, I feel like she might make a better Abigail Brand than Emilia Clarke. But hey, I'm not saying that Emilia Clarke ain't got no range or anything. But we'll see. Black Panther's Ryan Coogler explains why he won't move the sequel from Georgia. So apparently, writer for Deadline, Coogler's guest column discusses why he's choosing not to boycott the state, as some folks are doing, which has historically been home to many Marvel Studios shoots, among other Hollywood productions, thanks to Georgia's tax incentives promoting the state as a hub for film and television industry. Quote, having now spoken with voting rights activists in the state, Coogler writes in part, I've come to understand that many of the people employed by my film, including all of the local vendors and businesses we engage, are the very same people who will bear the brunt of SB 202, end quote. So yeah, that is the law that they're trying to make that are trying to go down in Georgia, which is a whole thing that we don't need to get into right now. Next up.
So apparently a show on OWN called Queen Sugar was able to use a Black Panther doll as part of a tribute to Chadwick Boseman. I'm trying to pull up this article now. Yeah, so the series creator Ava DuVernay is the person who explains how this show Queen Sugar, which centers on three siblings who moved to rural Louisiana in the aftermath of their father's death to claim his 800-acre sugar cane farm. Okay. Let's see. Scrolling.
Basically, it's a friend of a friend of a friend, including Ryan Coogler.
Yeah, I mean, talk about bearing the lead here, Screen Rant.
Right. Yeah, because she basically says like, it came through with her knowing Ryan Coogler and also a couple other people in the mix that could make things happen. So
screw you, Screen Rant. I scrolled just for nothing.
Yeah, they kind of like, all right, you just get to the point. You don't need all of this. But that doll, I was like, I've never seen that one. Like that seems like a bigger than average Marvel Legend also. That I don't think I've seen, because I went looking for it, but I don't know, maybe it's something I missed out. Regardless, we're gonna move along. Marvel introduces. Oh, you should have taken this one. In fact, you go ahead and take this one if you want it.
Just go ahead.
Okay, sure. Marvel introduces Simu Liu's MCU hero in the incredible first Shang-Chi trailer. Did you watch it?
Of course. And what was funny about it is that it was a complete surprise to none other than Simu Liu.
Exactly.
Whose birthday was it Monday?
Monday.
And he was under the impression that all he was going to be doing was I think tweeting out a picture of his costume, of him in costume.
Right.
And the next thing you know, I believe he tweets out, be on the lookout for a trailer within the next 2 weeks.
Yes.
Which is apparently what Marvel Studios told him.
Right.
And in a mild prank, which was obviously appreciated by both fans of himself and fans of the movie, Marvel Studios decided to come out and wish Simu Liu a happy birthday and release their teaser trailer, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and actually, in more ways than one, to wish him a happy birthday, because we'll get to another story later on that that involves him in something he got to announce or look into. But yeah, I liked it. I watched it a couple of times. It was burning up the Twitters when it dropped. The funny part about it was, I think I was watching YouTube, and it just so happened it popped up right before I saw it on social media. I was like, oh, okay. So I watched it a couple times, and then I saw Twitter kind of ablaze. What in the world?
Yeah, I don't know what just happened. It's like you blinked in and out for a second.
Oh no, not even just that, but there's some background noise, and I'm not sure what's going on, but I don't know.
But I happened to get a message from someone about the trailer, and I was like, "Oh, this dropped," and that's what got me opening up all my social media pages to check that out and to check it out on YouTube. So, yeah, you know what? I listened to some people talk about it afterwards, and they kind of confirmed my own suspicions about it. You may have more stories about some of the things I was thinking about, like how they've adapted some of the elements of both the Mandarin and Zhengzhou, aka the Yellow Claw.
So I think I got one in the clickbait session. I might go into one of those, but yeah, nothing. Okay.
Right, but yeah, at the end of the day, I guess I could just fold it in here then. They definitely have adapted and adopted some differences to create their own version of the character. Who they're calling Wen Wu, I believe, and uh, and some of the spoilers that came out as a result of the toys coming out relatively quickly.
Right.
In addition to the trailer coming out, kind of lead us to believe, or at least show us some of the changes to the source material. Some of the changes they're making in their adaptation of the source material. That is
Right. I kind of want to mention one of them, but we'll let that roll. So yeah, if you had a chance to check it out, do so because it's actually a pretty good trailer. Some people are saying things. Aquafina is also in it, and some people have issues with her for probably some justifiable reasons. But
well, I
also,
mean, it's unfortunate because it seems like she's playing the same character that she has been in several movies now.
well,
It's kind of like the same character that she was in Crazy Rich Asians.
well,
Uh,
that's not the thing that some of the people that I'm talking about are having an issue with. But yeah, there is that.
what are they saying?
Oh, that
You piqued my curiosity.
it's about just how she started off as a rapper and the language she was using then that she's just that she has stopped using once she got on to the movies and her whole there's basically cultural appropriation talk sort of.
All right.
Yeah, that I don't get into all that sometimes, but it was like,
Yeah.
hey, it's not the first one to do something like that, but it is what it is. Regardless, though, trailer good. Check it out. Next up.
I was about to say the Twitterverse, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing. Like I said, like, there's some legitimacy to it, but also kind of like it's a little something. But yeah,
So
next up.
apparently, they did in fact have a name for the place inside the Soul Stone in Infinity War. Why we're finding out about this? Whatever.
Yeah.
A deleted scene in Avengers Endgame answered this big question, apparently, from the films. And what did they call it? Thanks for burying the lead, CBR. Scrolling, I'm scrolling,
put it in here,
scrolling. The way station, I guess it's called.
it wasn't called a Soul Station. That's all I know, and that was a missed opportunity.
Yeah, so that's the name of the location that Tony and Thanos would be taken to.
Sure.
Alrighty.
Yeah. No, but wait. I thought that was where Gamora ended up. But regardless, it doesn't matter. Y'all, we've been there. It's the orange place, folks. Next up, Loki and Falcon and Winter Soldier could possibly get multiple seasons, according to this article. And this is according to Nate Moore, who we talked about earlier. Said that he couldn't confirm a second season for Falcon and Winter Soldier, but he, quote, does absolutely want to leave the possibility open. He told IndieWire that, quote, we definitely kicked around ideas because we always like to keep thinking about where things can go. But we also, frankly, in the crush of the pandemic, a lot of comments going on here. This is, we're trying to finish the show and make it sure it got out in a timely manner. Hopefully, at the end of the season, you'll see the potential for what we could tell in a subsequent season. However, Moore went on to tease that the series Loki is being planned as a potential ongoing series. When asked if there's any other Marvel shows that could see multiple seasons, he said the one that comes to mind, and that's probably ends on the secret. I think there's a lot of storytelling in Loki that's really irreverent and clever and cool, but also lends itself to multiple seasons in a way that is not a one-off. And then he goes to praise Tom Hiddleston. Next up.
So in May, Disney Plus is going to have more of the High School Musical spinoff. What the fuck? All right. This article is not exactly laid out in the most efficient manner. So, series with new episodes premiering weekly in May. Big Shot, High School Musical, the series, season 2. The Mighty Ducks, Game Changers. Star Wars, The Bad Batch is coming out on May 4th. Inside Pixar Unpacked is coming out on May 21st. And movies and complete series seasons coming in May. I'm gonna skip through some of these. Guess what? Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer is coming out. Goodness gracious! X-Men: The Last Stand is gonna hit the streaming service on May 14th, and let's
That's
see,
pretty much it.
May 20th.
I mean,
No, that's
Cruella,
it for the stuff that would be like particularly
Right.
relevant to the show.
Right. I mean, you can make a stretch for Cruella, but no. Yeah, that's pretty much that though. That's a couple of things. And of course, the Bad Batch, like you said, is coming out on the 4th. So by that time, I will probably have been finished with Clone Wars. Probably not. Alfred Molina confirms
No
return.
comments.
Huh?
I said no comments.
Alfred Molina confirms return as Doc Ock in Spider-Man 3. So yeah, that happened, and then in an interview with Variety, Molina also spilled a couple of details about reprising the role for Spider-Man 3. I think he also let off a couple of spoilers.
See, those are Marvel snipers looking to take shots at Alfred Molina.
Yep. Let's see. He says here, we were shooting it. We were all under orders not to talk about it because it was supposed to be some great secret, Molina said. But you know, it's all over the internet. I actually described myself as the worst kept secret in Hollywood.
Oh, Lord.
He went on to give a few minor spoilers, which we won't say, but he basically kind of minor spoiler a little bit of it here, and then he talks about the fact that he's not as young as he used to be. Well, he's not as young as he was when he did the previous movies that he was in, the previous Spider movie he was in, and that in his tendencies, as he says, his tentacles will carry the performance. So yeah, there you go. Next up,
the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse sequel has a trio of new directors. Variety reports, and Sony Pictures Animation confirms that the untitled Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse sequel will be directed by Joaquim Dos Santos, Kemp Powers, and Justin K. Thompson. They're gonna take over for Bob Persichetti, Peter Ramsey, and Rodney Rothman, who made the first film. Okay.
I feel like Joaquim Dos Santos had done some DC stuff, like some DC animated stuff. I feel like. So regardless, the word on the Twitters is like, this is pretty good hands for this.
Got to trust the word on the Twitters, tongue firmly planted in cheek.
No, I mean there's at least one or two of those names that I have heard in some other stuff that, or at least so that's give it some kind of cred. So that's the only reason why I'm saying that. But Spider-Man will finally come to Disney Plus with new deal, but after Netflix. So yeah, there was a deal that Sony made with Netflix about getting first run streaming rights. Excuse me, sorry. Spider-Man will come to Disney Plus with new deal, but after Netflix, if I didn't say that properly. But yeah, so Sony made a deal with, I think we talked about this already, and if we didn't, I'm not sure why, but Sony and Netflix got a deal to get the streaming rights. We did talk about it last week, now that I think about it, as opposed to not having it on their own service of Crackle, because nobody's watching Crackle. So the Spider-Man movies are going to go to Netflix first, apparently, and then go to Disney Plus after the Netflix deal. I mean the Netflix time frame. So let's see. The new Disney deal covers the point after that, meaning theatrical releases from 2022 to 2026 will head to Disney's streaming services and other television networks after they leave Netflix. The package only covers U.S. markets, obviously. because that's how they usually do.
Right. I mean, I've read the article I read, the articles I read. I don't know where is this from?
This is from IGN.
Okay. I don't think I read this particular article, but I think they're all reporting from the same sources.
Yes.
My understanding of this is that any of the older stuff is going to be moving to Disney Plus. It's the new stuff that this applies to. So at some point in the near future, we don't have all the details yet, but at some point in the near future, we're probably going to be able to fill in most of the gaps that are in the MCU lineup in Disney Plus, other than the Incredible Hulk. Sooner rather than later, and it's just this upcoming sequel that won't be on Disney Plus right away. Once it hits streaming, it'll go to Netflix first.
Correct. So either way, people with both will have them. So we'll have it one way or the other. Next up, though.
All right, next up, Predator screenwriters are suing to win back the franchise rights from Disney. Speaking of Disney, as reported by Deadline, Disney has responded to the lawsuit filed by Jim and John Thomas by filing their own and getting lawyers paid, claiming the brothers are attempting to prematurely terminate 20th Century's rights to the Hunter screenplay at the time the studio is working on developing another entry in the franchise. Okay.
So here's where I speculate, because we did talk about Marvel putting the Predator stuff they had on hold indefinitely. I'm kind of wondering if this is why.
It probably is.
Yeah.
It probably is.
Because at the time we heard about that, there was nothing given as to why they were doing that, and now that this has come out, this seems probably good as reason as any.
Right.
So, we'll see how that turns out for either one of those parties. HBO Max's Batman spinoff isn't Gotham Central, may center around James Gordon though. Although Gotham PD, the planned HBO Max spinoff for the upcoming film The Batman, follows Gotham City police detectives investigating cases, it is not an adaptation of the comics title Gotham Central. That's according to co-creator Ed Brubaker, who co-wrote Gotham Central with Greg Rucka. In an appearance on the Fat Man Beyond podcast hosted by Kevin Smith and Mark Bernardin, Brubaker said, I was like, maybe they're going to make Gotham Central this time. And so I reached out to a producer who works for the movie. Matt Reeves, and says, no, that's not really Gotham Central. So it's more of a spinoff of the movie. It's like the James Gordon show. So basically it's Gotham, which we already had. And again, I say, why is this happening? Next up.
Right, but I think Gotham was originally inspired by some of the stuff that Brubaker and co did in Gotham Central.
The way they played it, but
it's one, it's like chicken and the egg,
Have you watched Gotham? Because I don't know how that's the case.
I've never but at the end of the day, I've never really watched any of that stuff.
Yeah. It was pretty much surrounding. It was basically, it was less. Having read some Gotham Central, it was definitely not so much that. I'll just put it that way. But anyway, next up,
Zack Snyder, His Eminence, responds to restore the Snyderverse campaign. So what does he say? He says it's a concept that he believes shows sort of reverence for the work. In that way, whatever it results in, he has no idea, he said at the fan-organized event Justice Con. Really? And most likely nothing, just based on, quote, end quote.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, keep egging it on. Wink, wink.
Right. Oh, he does add, quote, the reverence for the work is a thing that he never would dismiss and or in any way say he doesn't respect, and that he would not, of course, give his entire effort to support. If someone says to him, no matter who that person is, quote, I really love that thing, I wish you would make another one, end quote, I'm not a person who says, well, that, forget it. I think that's rude. What's happened in the last, however, whatever 3 years for Zack Snyder's Justice League to exist is impossible. So that's all I think. Wonderful.
Right. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna. I may not. I'm not gonna stop you, but but I'm gonna cheer you on silently. Anyway, um, Rami Star joins DC Black Adam film in a secret role. So I'm going to presume this is Rami Star and stand-up comedian Mo Amir is joining the cast of Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam film. According to Deadline, details regarding Amir's part are not known at the moment, much like many other aspects of the film. Amir joins a couple of other people who are also recently cast in the mysterious roles. And I guess we'll see what happens from that whenever that happens. Next.
DC's Legends of Tomorrow star Dominic Purcell has changed his tune following his fiery exit announcement. Now says he's going to return periodically in season 7. So this guy who plays, of all people, a Heatwave, says that he's leaving and it's a big to do and it's a big brouhaha. But now he says, would everyone chill the F out? Why are people losing their mind because he's leaving the show? Yeah, his tone was heavy, straight to the point. It's who he is, he says. Does he have a beef with the studio at Warner Brothers TV? No. Sure you don't.
Yeah. AKA, they came after him after he popped off. They came after him like, you sure you might not want to get paid no more for you want to burn this bridge, huh? And then he deleted his original post and basically said some of the stuff that basically said what Agent 70 said in it.
At the end of the day, my entire reaction to this was, who? So how could it be of any import? But it's of import to somebody.
Sure.
They're fans of these shows.
It's
just not me.
I'm one of them, but I'm like, Heatwave was sure. That dude, that was sure. It's all right, I guess. Next up, though, Avatar: The Last Airbender YouTube channel to air new original series next week, or I guess this week, as of this recording, because that, as a matter of fact, yeah, that would have happened. Today is the 22nd, going on the 23rd, and that happened on the 20th. So a new Avatar: The Last Airbender Center series came to the show's official YouTube page. Let's see. I don't know what it's called. I don't see what it says about it, but in honor of Earth Day weekend celebration, this is a 3-day weekend that will feature earth-shattering original videos, a live stream every day, and a new original series exclusively on the channel. It all starts on Earth Day, so it started today. Get ready, Toph's already on her way, according to that. So don't know what the series was because didn't see it before anything about it before we recorded. But hey, this thing, if you're an Avatar fan, deal with it. Next up.
Season 4 of the Castlevania anime will be the show's last, but Netflix has released a teaser and poster to get viewers excited for its upcoming ending. The animated series is based on the video games of the same name and premiered in the summer of 2017. Following the characters Trevor Belmont, Alucard, and Sypha Belnades as they battle a vengeful Dracula and try to keep the people of Wallachia safe. Okay.
It's a good anime. You should check it out. And I think also Warren Ellis was attached to it until some things happened and he left. But anyway, the next Star Trek movie has a start date of 2023. 5 years has passed since the last Star Trek film, and now it seems 2 years away from the next one. Paramount did a big release date shuffle to at the day of this recording of this writing, which was on the 9th. And in the mix was the news that an untitled Star Trek movie was now set for June 9th, 2023. In the past 5 years, there's been talk of several different Trek films, including one that would bring back Chris Hemsworth, along with Chris Pine-led a Quentin Tarantino-written one, and one by Legion's Noah Hawley. However, most of those are considered long considered dead. The most recent Trek movie news is that the movie is being written by Kalinda Vasquez, a producer and writer on Star Trek Discovery, with J.J. Abrams set to produce. However, a source close to the project told IO9 that this is not the Vasquez script. It is, however, a separate J.J. Abrams produced Trek film, but all details beyond that remain secret. Probably going to be some Beastie Boys in there somewhere. Let's see. All that is clear that we got a date of June 9, 2023. Next up.
So, in timely Mortal Kombat movie news, screenwriter Greg Russo has said that he has planned for a full trilogy. He's worked on the screenplay for 5 years, and he has said he's had to balance introducing new audiences to the video game's expansive fantasy world while delivering on fan expectation. This meant keeping the first film tight, with Russo planning to follow up on a wider story should the movie prove successful enough to warrant sequels or spin-offs. Okay.
I mean, look, there's at the very least, well, let's just keep it. There's like 11 mainline Mortal Kombat video games, so why not a trilogy for the movies? They almost did it with the first one, but the first set, which I don't even know if they were even trying. They really weren't trying. So we'll see. And everything's a trilogy nowadays, because, yeah. Next up, though, Knuckles revealed on Sonic the Hedgehog 2 set. I don't know how that is. Oh, that's how that is. So apparently there's some behind the scenes set, and there's like a little stand-ups, not standees, but statues or something, let's say, of Knuckles and Sonic on the set that was taken pictures of. So I guess this is what Knuckles is gonna look like in the next movie, whenever that happens. Cool. Next.
And haven't they done this before news? Vin Diesel has been hired on to star in Mattel's big screen adaptation of the popular kids game Rock'em Sock'em, which features battling robots looking to knock each other's heads off. Diesel, whose production company One Race Films is working on the project with Universal Pictures, said of the project, "To take the classic Rock'em Sock'em game with Mattel as my partner and align it with the kind of world-building franchise-making success we've had with Universal is truly exciting." They did this with, I think, Hugh Jackman and Real Steel, I think it was called.
That is correct. Yeah. I mean, I guess shout out to Vin Diesel for trying to get that money, but man, this is getting out of hand. Now we transition over into the comic book news. Far Sector's N.K. Jemisin teaching masterclass on fantasy and sci-fi writing. The news masterclass session will feature acclaimed novelist and Far Sector writer N.K. Jemisin teaching authors how to write in the realms of science fiction and fantasy. The session is exclusively available on the Masterclass website, where Jemisin is one of over 100 instructors who discuss a wide range of topics. Jemisin's class will teach attendees how to develop the characters in their stories while adding nuance to their stories and worlds. Jemisin will also offer advice on what class members need to do when pursuing a professional writing career and how to navigate the publishing industry. Which, let's face it, that's good advice. Good information if you can get it. Excuse me. Next up.
All right, a deadly new villain, spoiler alert, debuted in April 13th. This is last week's. The Joker #2 by James Tynion IV and Gilliam March, one who is apparently taking after her daddy. A new villain named Vengeance debuted last week, the daughter of Bane. The latest in a long line of new characters Tynion has introduced to the Bat family over the past year. Let's see. As a whole, the Joker #2 came jam-packed with potentially significant reveals that could shake up Batman's world. Spoilers that on the issue. Yeah, this is all in the wake of what happens to Bane in whatchamahoo's it's Infinite Horizons, I think it's called, #0.
Okay.
So, without spoiling everything that happens there.
Sure. I still need to read that. Infinite something or other. Yeah. Infinite Frontier. There you go.
Frontier, there it is. Horizons Frontier. Same Drek.
A major Green Arrow reveal connects Bendis' Justice League and Checkmate. Brian Michael Bendis recently took over as the writer of Justice League, as we said earlier, and is slated to write a Checkmate series in June. I think we have also said that previously. Both series feature Green Arrow as a major player, but a secret concerning the Emerald Archer will only serve to strengthen that bond. Quote unquote, last year when we were working on Checkmate, we were heading towards a different destination than we have now, Bendis told Newsarama. There was just a different publishing plan going on, but with Infinite Frontier and us on Justice League, it offered a very strong, robust placement for us to tailor it. With Green Arrow being the connective tissue, this is a surprise with Green Arrow. So, and he says it's a genuine surprise, so sure. Next up.
So, more spoilers for Joker #2. It turns out that Jim Gordon has known a certain member of his family is also a member of the Bat family for a long time now. That's the gist of it.
Sure. Next up. Then Dan Jurgens reunites with Booster Gold and Blue Beetle as they try to become social media celebrities. In the new limited series Blue and Gold, DC's dynamically dysfunctional duo Blue Beetle and Booster Gold reunite with a plan to make it big on the social media scene, and have roped in Booster Gold co-creator Dan Jurgens to write their likely misadventures, with in-demand artist Ryan Sook drawing the title. Desperate to regain the spotlight, Booster Gold looks to attract the public's and Justice League's attention in the same way any washed-up second-rate hero would. Social media, reads the description of Blue and Gold #1. Yay. Blue and Gold #1 of 8 goes on sale July 20th. Next.
So, in some interesting news, it turns out that DC Superman comic book series is getting a relaunch and new Superman. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. So while Kal-El is off trying to liberate Warworld in Action Comics, it turns out there is a new Superman in town, and that is one Jonathan Kent, his son, and he's taking over the Superman title. And he's going to be basically hanging out around Earth and doing Superman type things while Kal-El, Clarke Kent, is off in space trying to free the slave population of Warworld.
Okay. I was about to say, so I'm guessing he's back from the future?
Yeah, it's been for a while.
Okay. I don't know. I don't keep up with that. Cool, I guess. Transformers. I'll take both of these. Transformers Reboost and Skids roll out as new Hasbro releases. So there's 2 new Takara Tomy Masterpiece Transformer figures with Autobot Skids and Reboost. That second one I have no idea of. Imported directly from Japan, these classic bots feature authentic design and deco as well as original packaging and instructions. And it just tells you who they're based off of. And off of that, the price of both these are $89.99, and set to be released by the end of November 2021. You can see the pictures of both of these if you're watching the video. But also, Transformers Decepticon Jetfire receives a live-action 3-0 figure. None of those movie figures need to be made. I don't know why, but regardless, the Transformers Revenge of the Fallen DLX Jetfire is priced at $299, and is going to be released at the end of 2021. Next.
Alrighty. Snake Eyes Hasbro figures offer a closer look at G.I. Joe prequel movie. In the absence of any trailers or preview footage of Paramount's upcoming Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins, it falls on Hasbro to give G.I. Joe fans their first real look at the cast of this prequel movie. Hasbro just unveiled a new wave of G.I. Joe classified figures based on the new movie, offering an early glimpse of Henry Golding Snake Eyes, Andrew Koji Storm Shadow, Samara Weaving Scarlet, and other movie characters.
Yay. Toink celebrates Anime Day with new items from Dragon Ball Super, Avatar The Last Bender, Yu-Gi-Oh, and more. So April 15th was apparently Anime Day, and to celebrate, Toink added some new anime-themed items to their collection for fans to purchase. There's a new bottle for Dragon Ball Super fans. I know Agent 70's looking forward to that one. I never do a Super doing
Hey, I know
bobblehead.
what Saiyan is now.
Nice. And they don't even get in that until
No, I'm in Z now.
oh wow, you burned through Dragon Ball.
Yeah, it's not that hard. Z
no,
is
it's
a lot
not,
harder.
but I mean, kind of. But there's still a lot of episodes to. But then again, you had started already, so yeah. So wait, we'll talk about that later. Anyway,
I'm in the middle of the first season of Z.
Oh, so still in the Saiyan arc. Gotcha. All right.
Right.
So yeah, cool. We'll good luck with that. So yeah, Naruto Shippuden bobblehead exclusive Avatar the Airbender enamel pin set and more. So yeah, they got some stuff on the line. You can see some of this that. I was slightly kidding about a water bottle, but maybe not. Next up.
A new podcast about Star Trek The Next Generation is coming soon and will feature interviews with several of its popular cast members. The Next Generation, according to comicbook.com, there's a new podcast coming, which will be hosted by Gates McFadden, the actress best known for playing Dr. Beverly Crusher. The series promises to offer behind-the-scenes stories about the golden age of Star Trek as McFadden records one-on-one interviews with her previous co-stars. Instead of talking about the show itself, she plans to explore more about the lives of the actors in question, stating, "We don't dissect the episodes; we speak about our lives." The series will be titled "Investigates." Who do you think you are? Okay.
So it's kind of weird because I feel like some of the captains things that Shatner was doing kind of did some of that, I thought, but then again I haven't seen that much of that stuff. So hey, it's out there for you folks. Okay, why are you not? There we go. Factory Entertainment unveils life-size He-Man Power Sword prop replica. So between Noah Stevenson's acclaimed She-Ra and the Princess of Power cartoon and an upcoming Master of the Universe Revelation animated series from Netflix from Kevin Smith, there's no better time to be a Masters of the Universe fan, I guess. It's a safe bet to expect toys based on the Revelation series, but until then, Factory Entertainment has fans and collectors covered with a premium life-size replica of He-Man's iconic power sword. You can see the picture of it right there if you're watching the video. This officially licensed 40-inch long power sword prop replica features a full tang blade crafted from stainless steel and a mirror chrome finish. The announcement reads. Yeah, so it's a thing.
That's not a joke. That's not like hard plastic.
No, apparently not.
You know, it may not be sharp, but you can whack somebody with that if it's stainless steel.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be solid, but it's definitely something you could take to somebody's head.
Right. Yeah, I kind of wonder that because that yeah, that's the thing. But every replica was supplied in a full color collector box and comes with a wall hanging display plaque and certificate of authenticity. The display plaque resembles He-Man's iconic shield, excuse me. So you're sort of getting two weapons for the price of one here. The release also calls the replica a real-world power sword, but does not go into the details on whether holding it aloft. Okay, you know where the rest of that's going, and I won't have to. So yeah, and there's pictures of it here with the box. Now here, where's the price? That is the question. I am not seeing a price, which means it's probably pricey. Next up.
I was just looking for the price too. Let's see. So there is in the wake of the live action premiere of Ahsoka Tano, as played by Rosario Dawson on the second season of The Mandalorian. Hot Toys has put out a deluxe Ahsoka 1/6 scale figure, action figure, which comes with Grogu, and for pre-order at a price point of $285, you can get the setup. For just, I guess it's just for Ahsoka. For Ahsoka and Grogu, you have to pony up a little bit more money. That is priced at $315. If you pre-order now, it's set to ship in July 2022 to September 2022.
That's a lot, but we've also said previously that Hot Toys is a little expensive. The sword is $600. The power sword.
Wow.
Yeah. Or $550 if you got a discount with them, but that's a lot either way. Next up, though, Simu Liu shares first look at new Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings products. So this was kind of what I was leading to earlier, because also on his birthday, not only did he get to show off the trailer and the poster, or not didn't he get into the poster, but he also got to show off some goodies that he got from Disney and Hasbro. And as you can see in this GIF, which would probably gifts from his Instagram story, it is a Funko Pop, Marvel Legends Shang-Chi, a Shang-Chi from the Titan Heroes series, and a Shang-Chi action figure with bow staff action and Battle FX bow staff. And again, I'm going to move away from that because I know that might give people a headache or whiplash or something. Not whiplash, but nausea. So yeah, that's pretty much that. New toys, folks. Next up,
Upper Deck Entertainment unveiled Thunderbolts Volume 4, Issue 6, a new expansion from Marvel's Versus system 2-player card game, which will release in July. This final installment for the 3-part Civil War story arc wraps up the conflict between Iron Man and Captain America over the Superhero Registration Act. The Thunderbolts enter the scene to hunt down renegade heroes and help Iron Man finish the job. The game box comes with 55 playable cards and a rule sheet. This supports 2 players, plays in 30 minutes. The MSRP on this product is $14.99.
Alrighty. Next up, the X-Men join Marvel United in new core set. Come On and Spin Master Games have announced Marvel Unlimited. I keep saying Unlimited. United X-Men, a new core set for the Marvel United line scheduled for release in May 2022. Marvel United X-Men adds mutant heroes and villains to Marvel United board game, launched last year by Come On and Spin Master Games. So this is a cooperative game that pits heroes from the Marvel Universe against iconic villains using cards and cartoonish miniatures. Let's see. As of this writing, Come On has raised a lot of money and a lot of backers through a Kickstarter campaign to fund production of the game. Backer fulfillment is planned for May 2022. Next.
So as part of the July solicits that dropped today, some announcements came out. One of them being that Amazing Fantasy, the title is returning with Spider-Man, Captain America, Black Widow, and time travel. Writer artist Kari Andrews is going to revive this classic title. He's going to make he's going to have a story that unites 3 time-tossed versions of Marvel heroes for a fantastic adventure with those heroes starring I think I saw somewhere where it's like World War II Spidey, Black Widow from another World War II Cap, Black Widow from another era, and Spidey from a specific era. So it's going to be interesting to see what Kari Andrews comes up with for this reboot of Amazing Fantasy.
Indeed, it also sounds like a version of Exiles, but for the other folks at large. Next up, Spider-Man villains wage a civil war. We kind of sort of alluded to this earlier in Sinister War event. Doc Ock is back, as we said earlier. Let's see. The nature of Marvel's recent Sinister Spider-Man teaser has been revealed, and the epitaph does indeed refer to the return of Dr. Octopus and the Sinister Six. But there's more. Doc Ock's Sinister Six will take on Vulture's Savage Six for villainous supremacy in Sinister War, a 4-issue limited series from writer Nick Spencer and artist Mark Bagley, which kicks off in July. So, okay, cool. Next up.
World War She-Hulk pits Jennifer Walters against the Avengers and more this summer. This is something I was teasing about when we were talking about Avengers earlier during the review section, talking about how some ramifications in the Avengers book are going to come up from their actions during the Phoenix event. You know, and the fact that some of their members were part of the tournament to determine who would end up becoming the new host of the Phoenix Force, and part of that has come, and part of that has come to fruition here in a story arc titled World War She-Hulk. Without spoiling too much.
Yeah. It's Avenger versus Avenger in July's new Thor story arc, Revelations. So let's see. If Thor's hammer is an unstoppable force and Captain America's shield is an immovable object, the age-old physics question about what happens when they meet might be answered in July 14th, Thor 15, the start of a new Midgard-shaking story arc by series writer Donny Cates. Titled Revelations, the new story teams Cates with guest artist Michelle Bandini of King and Black Spider-Man fame, standing in for the series regular artist Nick Klein, who Marvel assures readers will be returning to the title for the next arc. Revelations will pack plenty of surprises, according to the publisher, including a fight between the Thunder God, Thor, and America's Sentinel of Liberty, Captain America, as seen on the cover by former Thor artist Olivier Coipel and colorist Matt Wilson. So they're doing Secret Wars again. So kind of, sorta. Really? Next up.
What are we on? The Marvel finalizes team?
Mm-hmm.
After announcing the results of the fan poll to select a member of the team for its new flagship X-Men title, Marvel announced the final team lineup. X-Men number 1, a reboot of that particular title, is shipping in July and flowing out of the Hellfire Gala in June. Will feature a story by Jerry Duggan with art by Pepe Larraz and colors by Marte Gracia. The series is going to tell the adventures of the first X-Men team since the formation of the Mutant Nation Krakoa in Hox Pox. The team for the first year will include Cyclops, Marvel Girl, Rogue Wolverine, that is Laura Kinney Wolverine, Sync Sunfire, and Polaris, who won the fan vote.
Congratulations. It's an honor being nominated. Last Annihilation event promises transform Marvel's cosmic comics. So we were kind of wondering what was going on and what was going to be going on in Guardians of the Galaxy, what that was leading up to, and here it is. Marvel Comics has announced a Last Annihilation event promising to transform their entire cosmic range. Until 2006, Marvel cosmic books have always seemed like something of an afterthought. And then Annihilation came along and changed the game. But now Marvel has announced a new event, The Last Annihilation, the brainchild of writer Al Ewing. The story will kick off in July in Guardians of the Galaxy 16. This will see the entire galaxy under attack, one the likes of which hasn't been seen since the first Annihilation War. A mysterious figure with a new vision for the universe, and they have the army to make that vision a reality. 5 worlds under siege, and it may be too much for even the new Guardians of the Galaxy. The story will then continue in Sword number 7, which is set in the aftermath of the Hellfire Gala. So it invites, you know what, we don't need to talk about that because maybe you want to save that little tidbit for yourself. But nevertheless, things are afoot. That's going to happen. Next.
Captain Marvel number 30 will feature the first Carol Danvers story from her costume designer, Jamie McKelvey. Back when they redesigned the story, the costume and story behind Captain Marvel, Jamie McKelvey was hired by Marvel to redesign the costume. Now he's going to create his first Captain Marvel story in July's Captain Marvel number 30 as both a writer and artist, as announced through Sci-Fi or Sci-Fi Wire. Wow, that was 2012 when they redesigned the costume. That feels like it was yesterday.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. Game of Thrones' Emilia Clarke, along with Marguerite Bennett, penned a new Image comic, Mom, M-O-M, Mother of Madness. Emilia Clarke is well known for, you know who she is, folks. We don't have to say it. Her newest project for Image Comics also focuses on a mother, one who just so happens to have superpowers. M.O.M. Mother of Madness is a 3-issue miniseries written by Clarke and Marguerite Bennett with illustrations from Layla Leyes. It centers on a single mother, Maya, who discovers she has superpowers and uses them to fight a human trafficking ring. Speaking to Entertainment Weekly, Clarke described the series as having a tongue-in-cheek approach to humor, similar to Deadpool, but with a feminist angle. Not sure how to feel about that. But there you go, folks. It will be out July 21st from Image. Next up.
Mike Mignola is expanding his creator-owned empire with a whole new universe separate from his long-running Hellboy family of titles affectionately known as the Mignola-verse. What's coming now is the Outerverse. It's built out of his and longtime collaborator Christopher Golden's prose novels Baltimore and Joe Golem and The Drowning City, and their ensuing individual comic book series. The Outerverse is becoming real with a new series of comic book limited series and one-shots with characters from those titles getting a solo spotlight. So out this week, we did have a chance to take a look at it. It was Tales from the Outerverse, Kojakaru the Skinner, number 1 of 2, which picks up the story of a young girl named Krina, who readers first met in the Joe Golem prose novel, but we're fast forwarded past her prime human years and into her afterlife, as she's brought back from the dead as a revenant when Europe needs her, like the King Arthur or Charlemagne mythology, only more gothic and dark. Oh, so now I understand what that book is kind of about. I just skimmed it very quickly.
Gotcha. So, cool. The rest of the article is an interview with Mignola, and Oh, where's Christopher Nolan? I mean Christopher Golden. Excuse me. Anyway, last but not least, it's the Humble Manga Bundle, Spring 21 Anime Season Bundle. So Humble Bundle, as they tend to do, have bundles of things on sale every now and then. This particular manga bundle is available now, and it's pay what you want with money going to charity, as it normally tends to do. You get, it's apparently $939 worth of awesome manga. And there is a list. Okay, there is a list of if you're watching the video, that you can see the list of what you can get out of that with what you pay with the whatever tier. Some of it's good stuff. Some of it I'm like, okay, sure. Regardless, it's all worth a good cause, and you can get it in multiple formats, which is also great. Let's see. I don't know how long it's gonna. Oh, doesn't say how long it's gonna last, but that's fine. And that's it, folks. That is the last news story of the night. Can we get one last ad read?
Our last ad read of the night is for Wink, the personalized wine club. Seems like some people need more to drink tonight. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Torronte, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Drink some damn orange wine, people. Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your taste and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every freaking month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a damn thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink wines through CSPN. Do it today.
I think someone may need a nap and not necessarily a bottle. So we can go ahead and speed that along. I hope everything is okay. Thank you for coming out for this here Comic Book Chronicles, as you tend to do, whether it be in audio form, video form, or live or not. I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. One angry agent. He's probably not really angry, but one interestingly emotioned agent _70. You can find him at agent _70 on Twitter and Instagram. PCN_dirt on Twitter, PopCultureNet on Twitter, PopCultureNetwork.com, and all those umbrella sites they're in. Probably still bite under comic reviews, no vowels. Tim DOGG98 on Twitter, who by the way just had his birthday on the 20th, so happy birthday to Tim, even though it was I think we probably said so on the Twitters proper or whenever else. But you can find him at TimDOGG98 on Twitter, like I said. CB Cron on Twitter, which is the Comic Book Chronicles Twitter account. You can also find him at TheClickNation on Twitter. That's TKLIQNATLN. TheClickNation.com, spelled the same way. But also over at Comic Book Resources, where he's writing his face off. You can find this here podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find this at your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network SoundCloud page. We'll be back next week. Falcon and Winter Soldier number 6. The last one. Maybe some talk about Mortal Kombat. I don't know. Maybe possibly leaving gloss over it, but we will definitely come back with some more comic book and comic book news. And with that, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace one. Rest in peace, Shock G.
And DMX and Black Rob.
Now gather round, I'm the new fool in town, and my town's laid down by the underground. I drink a bottle of Hennessy you got on your shelf, so just let me introduce myself. My name is Humpty, pronounced with the Humpty. Yo, ladies, oh, how
All right, that's it.
to Humpty. All right, but in the top 10, please allow